and welcome to the AM show on such a bright day. I say bright day because it promises to be a good one, one that will have sunshine. Even if we have rain, it will bring us a lot of goodness. So you know what? Get ready to tap into the goodness of today. Today is Thursday. We're left with 1 day to go for the holiday, weekend, right? But such a good note to know that there's been amendment to the Holiday Act, and there's going to be, that power given to the president to say, if our holidays fall on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we can push it to Friday, so we can have a long weekend. What a way to say welcome to the AM show.
Yes, and on that note, it's also 2 more days to go for the 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Awards this Saturday, June the 28th. And we're inviting you to be our special guest on the Joy News channel to celebrate 10 finalists making extraordinary impact. Welcome aboard. Let's tell you what we have in store for you this morning. Well,
so we will start with the AM News, which will be presented by the beautiful Sweetie Abochi there. And then after that, we'll bring you the AM Sports. After the sports, we have the news review where we'll be going into what the papers are reporting this morning. Be ready to have a lot of them featuring the Chief Justice's press conference yesterday. Now, on that, we'll be having Mohammed Bataglia. He's MP for Sisala East. Awal Mohammed is is with the MPP Communications Directorate, and Nanaya Sapon is with the Movement for Change. And then we'll move into our big stories.
The Chief Justice, like Kojo has been saying, is determined to go the full haul in defense of justice, even as she also stirs controversy by holding a presser to tell the world her side of the story in an unprecedented fashion. Can this strategy correct the removal process she describes as opaque, unconstitutional, flawed, and politically motivated? We'll delve into the matter, but that's not all.
Also, marking the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, we talk to the Mental Health Authority on impact of drug abuse and preventive strategies. You see a lot of young people today giving away their youthfulness because of drug use. We'll delve into that, and then we say, join us with your thought via phone and all our social media handles. Stay with us as we go through the day. But remember that the AM show is sponsored by Whaley Properties, and we say we provide quality housing at affordable cost and with flexible payment options. So what are you waiting for? Come to us and own that dream house of yours. Welcome.
Yeah, let's get straight into the AM News now, Kojo. I like your energy. I hope it rubs off me this morning. Stay with us. This is the AM News with me, Sweetie Abochi, and we begin from the Judiciary because the Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo, has approached the High Court to challenge the proceedings aimed at removing her from office. In a bold and unprecedented move, the Chief Justice, at a news conference yesterday, described her removal process as deeply flawed and unconstitutional. The Chief Justice said she has been left with no options but to seek judicial intervention. And Joy News' Michael Ashali tells you more.
The Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo, is once again fighting processes to remove her, this time not just in the court, but before the cameras too, outlining 4 key reasons for breaking her silence this novel way.
Every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy.
Her message was strong and direct. She will not resign, describing the proceedings to remove her from office as unconstitutional, unlawful, and dangerous for Ghana's democracy.
If I resign under these circumstances, I will be saying that this flawed, unknown, and opaque process is acceptable. It is not.
This is the first time in Ghana's history that a sitting Chief Justice faces removal through such a process. Justice Torkornoo called it historic but deeply flawed and warned of the lasting damage it could cause to judicial independence.
It's historic. In all of Ghana's 68-year history as an independent republic, there has never been a hearing for the removal of the Chief Justice. One would therefore have hoped that if such a process becomes necessary, it would provide good guidance and precedent for nation building. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country.
The suspended Chief Justice says the choice of Edu Lodge, cordoned off and heavily guarded, is psychological intimidation.
I was also living with him at the time he was abducted and murdered. Was Edu Lodge chosen for my inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so. And I continue to hold the view that there's no reason why a judicial hearing is being conducted behind the high walls of Edu Lodge.
She also challenged the 3 petitions that triggered her suspension, calling them misleading, misinformed, and in some cases, outright false.
And so I knew that it was necessary that the issues being thrown around as petitions against me needed to get into the public space. I swore to a supplementary affidavit alerting the Supreme Court also of human rights violations that I had started encountering when I went to the Article 146 hearings. However, the members of the Supreme Court that had the action for the hearing in open, and they also struck out the supplementary affidavit at the request of the Attorney General. I have decided to make this statement today because the violations have not stopped. Indeed, they have escalated beyond anything I could have imagined as possible in justice delivery.
In the last hour, the embattled Chief Justice has taken legal action at the High Court, hoping to challenge the legality of the proceedings and to stop what she describes as a miscarriage of justice.
It is this total absence of compliance with all known rules of fair hearing that has caused my lawyers to file applications for judicial review in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void. Because the clear danger is that through this flagrant violation of CI 47 and the darkness of the current proceedings being held in camera behind the walls of Edu Lodge, my lawyers and I can come to the end of the proceedings. The evidence will show that every one of those allegations in the petitions that were given to me on 27th March is unfounded and untrue.
Justice Gertrude Torkornoo insists that she's innocent in the face of all the allegations that have been made against her. She insists that staying to fight is not a battle for her alone, but if she wins for the entire judicial system. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Moving on from the judiciary, civil society organizations have tasked the government to ensure the passage of the non-profit bill set to regulate their activities. This came up after an assurance by the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, at the third Civil Society Forum that the bill will be given the needed attention. The CEOs, which say the bill will help regulate and strengthen the operations, also asked for the smooth registration of NGOs. Hannah Odame was at the forum and has more.
The forum, among others, is to take stock of the work of civil society groups and, most importantly, how to fill the funding gaps after the massive cut by the U.S. government after the Trump administration took over. Delivering the keynote address, Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Ninoy Thompson, noted CSOs must work at boosting their credibility by accounting for donations they receive and also recalibrate in the face of declining funding.
For a whole range of reasons, organizations and even governments in rich countries may continue to fund CSOs in Ghana and Africa, even in the face of declining resources. Here, the case for credibility takes on somewhat different hue or significance, where local CSOs must then prove that they are not conduits or pawns for a sinister agenda of global or ideological manipulation and domination. And the brother from New York did allude to that, so that CSOs do not work to the whims of those who give them money.
Chairperson of the Coordinating Committee of the Forum, Beauty Emefanate, enumerated measures being put in place to meet the requirements outlined by Dr. Thompson.
The Ghana Civil Society Forum continues to provide platforms for networking, knowledge sharing, and capacity building among CSOs, and enhancing our effectiveness in promoting sustainable development. We have also set in place measures to put in place a peer review mechanism that will help us to hold each other to account and deepen our accountability.
On her part, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, said reforms needed to facilitate activities of the CSOs has become imperative, reason why government is actively considering passage of the non-profit bill, which is expected to also represent the tenets of the CSOs.
There is currently no specific law in place that facilitates the activities of CSOs and nurtures the development of the civil society space. The non-profit bill is in the works, and we are committed to working with civil society to build consensus towards passing the bill into law.
Directors of some CSOs who spoke to Joy News expressed hope the recommendations made at the forum will be implemented.
The Vice President has given a broad way. He has given us the way. He has told us what is supposed to be done. But it's left with CSOs and the organizations, the policy makers, and then the institutions to implement it, to make sure it is done. Unfortunately, it is not the reality on the ground.
Having a business that generates some income, and then you can use that income, to finance. Yes. We have a number of activities. We have, for instance, we have a training center that actually is hired out for use. We also have training programs that we actually run ourselves, and then to be able to get some income. We have also members who are actually contributing. That is what creates the sense of ownership, sense of, being local. So we are trying a lot of interventions that can help us to, sustain, our work.
The two-day event, organized by the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, brought together civil society leaders, policymakers, and development partners. For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
Let me take you to Kumasi now, because applicants at the National Identification Authority in Kumasi met closed doors. Staff have laid down their tools, demanding improved working conditions. They say government has failed to pay the operational support allowance for this year. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reports from Kumasi.
Ideally, when you come to the Kumasi office of the National Identification Authority, you should find a number of people queuing or massing up here in their numbers to seek services from the officials here at the office. But unfortunately today, the numbers aren't the same. It's entirely empty. Nobody is around. And even the canopy where these applicants sit whenever they come to the office is entirely empty. And as you can see some people lying on the benches under this canopy. And we have been interacting with some of the applicants who have trooped in here to seek services, but were unfortunately turned away and they are left stranded. What do you need it urgently for?
So I'm a first year student in Taken. The president is implementing a no stress fee policy that's to reimburse us with our school fees. Yeah, so in order for you to get your school fees, you need to register using your Ghana card. Yeah, so I came here for my Ghana card, so I'll be able to apply for it.
So when you came, what has really happened? Have you engaged with any of the officials here?
Nah, there's no one here, so I'm currently standing around.
So in case you don't get it, how bad is this going to affect you?
Currently, for the policy, there's no deadline for it, so I'm not shaking. Yeah, but I have to get it.
Yeah, because like I was registered since for the past 3 years, so that time they say they got like short of the card, so that I just come back, so that I came here. I just come here this morning to find it because it's very urgent. It's gonna help me more when I'm in abroad, so that like currently when I'm coming, I get the visa, so that if I got the Ghana card, it's gonna help me so that to make everything shorter for me. But unfortunately, I get here, so they say they are on strike. We come very far from Askorimampong to here. We just take the taxi to here. So, but unfortunately, we couldn't. Then they didn't go any updates like when they are coming, when they resume or something like that.
Mine has gotten missing, so I really need it. It's very urgent. Yeah.
So in case they don't come anytime soon, what is going to happen? Because I know you said you need it urgently for something you are doing, but in case it doesn't come urgently?
I don't know what to do again.
So until this particular industrial action is called off, the offices of the National Identification Authority will continue to remain empty, with many prospective applicants left stranded, and they are calling on the government to ensure an amicable resolution to this impasse. From here at the Kumasi Regional Office of the National Identification Authority, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
Let's do some other stories now. And members of Parliament on the Defence and Interior Committee have assured the Ghana Prison Service of swift action to address its long-standing challenges. During a working visit to the service's headquarters, the lawmakers acknowledged the critical conditions affecting the agency and pledged to advocate for improved resources and working conditions. Adobe Asare has more in this report.
For decades, the Ghana Prison Service has operated in the shadows, burdened by dire constraints that have taken a toll on its staff and operations. Overcrowded cells, limited funding, and low morale have been the hallmarks of an agency that has long been the silent cornerstone of national security. A recent working visit by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defence and Interior to the prison's headquarters in Accra has brought a sense of hope to the agency. Officers laid bare the harsh realities of their daily lives, highlighting the institutional challenges that have long plagued the service. The Chief Legal Officer, DDP Charles Ameyao, presented a candid assessment of the agency's struggles, from inadequate infrastructure to budgetary constraints.
If you look at just 4 prisons, they take care of more than half of the prisoner population. Nsawam was built for 850. You go there today, you have 3,516.
The Director General, Mrs. Patience Bafo-Boni, recounted the burden of serving with limited support and recognition.
Sometime last year, my last born, who is now a lawyer, started working at a chamber. And then she was so happy coming to show me her pay slip. I looked at it and I asked myself, so what am I doing with the Ghana Prison Service? And then upon second thought, I realized maybe you are not there for the money, you are there for the impact. Sometimes we have to call a spade a spade. I am a criminal, I have committed an offense, and the system has decided to incarcerate me. The system must take responsibility.
Her heartfelt plea was met with a promise of action from the committee chairman, James Agalga. Agalga assured officers that their plight would not be ignored.
With the new knowledge acquired, when we are called upon to do the advocacy, even where we haven't been called upon, we will create a room and do the advocacy, so that at the end of the day, issues to do with prisons, will be appreciated by the public, and of course, will get the government to support.
As officers look to the future, they dare to hope that the promises of reform will translate into tangible action.
I believe that, especially in terms of agric, we have a lot of potential. And with this meeting with the Parliament Select Committee, I believe that the future of the prison service is very bright.
The responses from the Parliamentary Select Committee gives hope that indeed there's something good for the Ghana Prison Service. But in my opinion, I think the industrialization and the agriculture aspect of the presentation should be looked at first, because we are looking at the generation of income to support whatever government gives to us to enhance our operations.
With renewed parliamentary interest and a commitment to change, the Ghana Prison Service may finally be on the path to a brighter future. For Joy News, Adobe Asari.
Now, Parliament has passed a new bill to make major changes to Ghana's holidays, including the restoration of September 21st as Founders' Day. The previous government changed the day to Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day without a public holiday to mark August 4th as Founders' Day instead. But the new Public Holidays and Commemorative Days Amendment Bill 2025 has reversed the order, including other major changes, and James Aveji will give us the details.
Minister for Interior Mohamed Mutaka Mubarak, in laying the Public Holidays and Commemorative Days Amendment Bill 2025 before the House, made two key announcements. One is the restoration of 21st of September as Founders' Day, and he also indicated that all holidays which fall on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays would be observed on Friday, and those that fall on weekends would also be observed on Monday. And in all, Ghana will be observing a total of 14 holidays every year.
We've taken out the 4th August as the then being termed as Founders' Day, because we believe that as a country we are not unanimous around it, and it's served as a divisive day for us as Ghanaians. So we've taken that out, and we have maintained the 21st September, and now we term that as the Founders' Day, which is the date of birth or the birthday of Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the man, the founder of our country, the one who led us into independence. What we intend to do with this amendment is simply to say that if a holiday falls in the middle of the week, that is Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, it should be observed on a Friday. If it falls on Saturday and Sunday, it should be observed on Monday.
The minority, through the leader Alexander Panyumakin, registered strong opposition to the bill being taken under a certificate of urgency. As he says, there are other matters of importance for government to prioritize and not holidays.
We don't have the 24-hour economy bill. Where is it? That is a bill that would have created jobs, as you promised. 1 job, 3 shifts. Many of our youths are not getting jobs. You have not prioritized it. And then you come here, you say, holiday, holiday, holiday. You are interested in holiday, holiday, holiday. The Minister of Interior has not come here with a bill to introduce reforms under the various agencies under his ministry. Or he comes under certificate of urgency, holiday, holiday, holiday,
The debate before passage of the bill has largely been centered on the age-long controversy as to whether or not Dr. Kwame Nkrumah must be celebrated as the only founder of the nation, Ghana.
Even as adults, we are all singing the praise of Kwame Nkrumah and all the people who suffered. And we are still honoring everybody. I will honor every one of them that suffered for Ghana, including you, Mr. Speaker. We all do that. And so for me, I'll give honor to everybody. But we recognize that Kwame Nkrumah was the one who ultimately stood and we got the independence. So we'll celebrate him on his birthday. That I agree. I don't have a problem with that.
Honourable members, the Public Holidays and Commemorative Days Amendment Bill 2025 is duly read the third time and pass.
After this passage, the President, John Dramani Mahama, is expected to assent the bill into a law which would allow the 1st of July to be observed as a public holiday. From Parliament House here in Accra, I am James Savage for Joy News.
Now, the Director General of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Michael Boakye-Yadom, has criticized how educational policies are implemented in Ghana. Speaking at the first quadrennial conference of heads of basic schools in Kia municipality, Professor Boakye-Yadom indicated that funds allocated for executing educational policies are often misappropriated, stating that activities of education stakeholders do not align with Ghana's education sector plan. Abigail Leselon-Kroma has more.
The first quadrennial conference of heads of basic schools corps in the commended Dinegwa-Fabre municipality was on the theme Transforming Basic Education in Ghana, Challenges and Opportunities. The chairman of corps KEA, Godwin Fiagbeji, shared the significance of the conference.
This conference presents a platform to identify the key issues affecting basic education in our municipality, be it infrastructure, staffing, policy implementation, or administrative challenges. More importantly, it provides an opportunity to excellence, exchange of ideas, and solutions that are both practical and innovative. Our focus remains resolute to ensure that the head teacher is not a mere manager of school activities, but a transformative leader at the very core of national development.
Chairing the conference, the Director of Education in the Accra Metropolitan, Justine Ivy-Apau, described the heads of basic schools as the foundation of the country.
You teachers, head teachers, especially the basic school, we are the foundation of the nation. We are the hallmark of the nation. And I keep on telling you, my honorable members, that don't look at the people at the top. Look at what you can do. So never give up. Never give up as a teacher, as a head, as a CISO, whether you are in the office, whatever position that you are holding in Ghana Education Service, Minister of Education, never give up. KEA, I'm very proud of you.
Professor Michael Boakye-Yadom, the Director General of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, IEPA, at the University of Cape Coast, criticized the implementation of educational policies in Ghana.
Implementation of educational policies. So in Ghana, we have the Education Sector Plan 2018-2030. That document is supposed to guide our educational everything till 2030. If you look at a lot of things that we are doing, they are not in that policy document. A developer partner will come, oh, I have $2 million for this. Is it in the education sector plan? It's not there. Oh, we will do it. They will take the cash and we'll use it to do something, to represent something. These are all challenges. And sometimes we think it doesn't affect us at our level. It does.
From Commander, Abigail Leselon-Kroma reports for Joy News.
Well, that takes us into a business update now with Samuel Kujo-Brace.
Let's do business update now, and we'll start with what is happening in the currency market. Well, away from that, the Ghana Revenue Authority has been, says from July 1, 2025, will commence a 15% value-added tax on non-life insurance premiums. The following report has details.
Social media pages, the GRA said starting July 1st, 2025, a 15% VAT will be applied to non-life insurance premiums in Ghana. According to the GRA, the tax will affect property, health and travel. Motor insurance is, however, exempted. The tax handle is expected to improve revenue collection for government to help meet government's targets set in the 2025 budget. By this, individuals or businesses will pay 15% more to insurance companies in exchange for an insurance policy which provides financial protection against potential losses or damages. This will bring additional costs to policyholders.
Let's now bring you an update on what is happening on the commodities market. That's all in the business update on the AM News. Time now for us to bring you the AM Sports with a man who pronounces his name more like Mubarak. But stay on and watch him.
Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, Asante Kotoko have completed their third signing in the space of 3 days by securing the services of forward Johnson Opong. The attacker has signed a 2-year deal following spells with various Ghanaian clubs and stints in Europe. Kotoko described Opong as a quick and dynamic winger joining the squad as they prepare for their return to the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, Johnson, who helped Dreams FC reach the semi-finals of the competition, is hoping to replicate his form with the Porcupines.
Earlier, Kotoko has been the dream, so when I had the call that Asante Kotoko want my service, on the phone I answered yes. I did not say anything, because I want to play Asante Kotoko.
This is a club with lots of demands, a club that has no time for anyone, be it manager, player, or whoever is in charge. That you need to deliver. It's right on value for money, instantaneous results. Does that put pressure on you? Do you think you have the mentality and what it takes to survive in such a demanding club?
Yeah, well, as a player, you always feel the pressure anywhere you go. So I know Kotoko is a very big club and they will demand a lot. So I'm here to work and do my best for the club. Johnson, what I know about Kotoko is, growing up, I will always go to Accra Sports Stadium to watch Asante Kotoko, even when they lost, and sometimes I will not be happy, when Kotoko lose. So today I'm here wearing the shirt and presenting Asante Kotoko on the field of play. I'm going to do my best. And I cannot say my quality, but the field will show. Yeah. Everybody knows Asante Kotoko have history and come to Africa. So we're going to work hard as players. We need to work hard and play together for the team. Because I've been there, and I think most of the players too have been there before. So we're going to work hard and play for the team.
Johnson, you're welcome. I wish you a happy stay.
Thank you very much.
The Director General of the National Sports Authority, Ampofo Ankra, says his institution is waiting for fans to complete the closed stand at the Accra Sports Stadium prior to Ghana's 2026 World Cup qualifier against Chad in March. The NSA announced the closure of the Independence Square stand due to safety concerns. The stand remains closed with 3 months to go until the next World Cup qualifier.
That we must address. We still are waiting for the release of funds to complete one of the stands to allow it to be at its capacity. Beyond that, there are works to be done in the long term beyond the World Cup qualifiers. And we also need to be mindful that before we came in, I'm talking about the new administration, contracts were given to people to ensure that certain works are done. And so far, the audits of those works are yet to be completed. And it would be, premature for me to conclude. But what I can talk is about what I've seen so far, myself personally, and with the team that have gone around to evaluate and assess what is happening with our venues and centers, and it's not looking good. However, we need to wait for the reports from the Ministry of Sports and Recreation to find out exactly if those works were done and what more needs to be done.
Slovenia-based midfielder Abdul Rashid Husseini has expressed his ambition to represent Ghana's senior national team, the Black Stars, describing it as his ultimate career goal. The 21-year-old previously played for Ghana at the under-17 level, where he played alongside Abdul Fattah Issahaku. Now, while a senior national team call-up seemed distant for now, Husseini remains optimistic and committed to a long-term dream.
Yeah. Good question again.
I heard you were quite young, like 15, when you played for the under-17. What happened to your progress within that time and now?
Yeah, I was 15 and I was young, and my progress, I can say, Shooting Star really helped me a lot because they normally took us to Europe for trainings camp, just for you to get the experience of Europe, how they train and those, to master the basics and those kind of things. So that really helped us a lot. Even though they know we couldn't sign contract then, but they still push money to push us there, to go there and train. Yeah, I can remember me and Christopher, we went to Spain for like a year just for training in one academy, just to master some things before we get ready for our next chapter. So Shooting Star really helped us a lot when I was young. They really helped me a lot.
So let's talk about still the national team. How important is it for you to play for the Black Stars?
Yeah, right now that's my main goal right now, to play for the Black Star, because if you had a Black Star stamp on your profile, your transfer market, is something like you look and like you feel happy and those kind of things. So that's my main goal right now, to play for the Black Stars. So we're just hoping, we just have to work hard and keep trying and see. You never know. Some may get it early, some can get it later, so we still keep pushing. It's our nation, so we have to be ready to help it.
Now, Black Stars midfielder Thomas Partey is attracting strong interest from top European sides and big money Saudi clubs after failing to reach an agreement with Arsenal over a contract extension. Partey is now set to leave the North London club at the end of June, when his current deal officially expires, bringing an end to a 4-year spell at the Emirates. Now, several clubs across Europe, including those in Serie A and the Bundesliga, are reportedly monitoring his situation, while teams in Saudi Arabia are also preparing lucrative offers to lure him to the Middle East.
This is the News Review segment, and it's 2 days to the 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Awards this Saturday, June the 28th. You want to be a special guest right here on the on the Joy News channel to celebrate the 10 finalists making an extraordinary impact, and that is what you're seeing on your screens right now. I'll be your host on Saturday, so you want to make a date with me. And so many sponsors, stakeholders, and people who are making extraordinary things in their communities who will be recognized and awarded on Saturday. Of course, I'm doing it with Nathaniel Atto, and so you want to join us. Well, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and before I introduce my guest to you, if you're thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in, then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit. And you want to invest in our newest development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable costs with flexible payment options, in addition to 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Give us a call on these numbers, 0240 111 119. or 0504-499-999. You can also visit our website at www.waylead.org. We're about to review the stories captured in the newspapers, and I'm sure that the Supreme Court's issues in the judiciary will be featured. But let me introduce our guest and let's get straight into it. We have the legislator for Sisala East, Mohammed Bataglia, and of course, Nanaya Sapong from the Movement for Change. Along the lines, when our third guest joins us, I will introduce him. But gentlemen, welcome to the program. It's good to see you both. And
see you.
Anybody else wish they were sleeping in bed right now? Or it's just me? Anyway, say again.
Do men sleep? We don't.
Oh, you don't sleep? Men don't sleep? Interesting. So it's just us who sleep.
Yeah, of course. In as much as you take some salaries, your budgets are still on us. And so we need to work extra hard.
Well, I can't argue with that.
Thank you.
Let me start with the legislator. You know, we gave our guests a couple of minutes to share their thoughts with us. So let me start with you, Mr. Bataglia. What has caught your attention? I mean, it's Thursday, so all week. What is on your mind?
Well, thank you so much, Titi. And a very good morning to you and my good brother, Yab. May I also extend the same greetings to my constituents, Sisala East, and of course, every Ghanaian watching us this morning. Well, a whole lot is happening, especially from yesterday. But though I'm in white, I will want to go on a bit sad note. Yesterday, we buried one of our MCEs of Laura, Honorable Alhaji Muazu Adam, a very fine gentleman who was with us in the gutters. He did everything possible to get NDC back into power. He was rewarded by a nomination from the president and subsequent confirmation by the people of Laura. Unfortunately, he fell quite ill within the short space, and we lost him here in Accra. They flown him back yesterday, and burial was done according to Muslim tradition. I want to extend my sincere condolences to the family, especially the wife. My colleague, my senior colleague, the MP for Laura, the people of Upper West, and at large, I say the whole Ghana, for somebody who was so determined to at least bring a change in our part of the world. But God knows best. And that's how I'll leave it.
Thank you. And our condolences to the family of this honorable MCE. Nanaya Sapong, let's hear your thoughts now.
I'll just add my voice to wishing the people of this district our condolences. I think that it's sad, yes, it is, but who knows? God knows best. But having said that, I would also want to add my voice to the many Ghanaians who are calling for our fellow citizens to kind of manage expectations in this current dispensation. Monitoring the news for some weeks now, I have noticed one thing, that some voices that were lost have suddenly been found, and almost everybody is expecting something huge, and we'll just appeal. You see, it is good to have expectations. It is good to know what you want. It is good to push for what you want, but it is also prudent that you manage your expectations as an individual. And whilst you manage it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't demand for it. We should be able to know the timings within which we are. The Bible would always tell us that there are times and seasons. It doesn't also stop you from
What are you talking? What expectations should the Ghanaian be managing?
There has been so many of labor unrest all of a sudden, all right? And that is because so much is expected to be done. Things that were supposed to have happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people are expecting it. Union leaders are expecting it to happen within a month. They want it all of a sudden. And I think that if we're able to manage our expectations and push properly, we would all get there. Let us come together as a nation. Let us deal with the rots in the system. Let us try to block the blockade, the wastage systems that we have, and then let's push for a better Ghana as we move. Okay.
You know, they say to whom more is given, much is expected.
Of course.
So is it the case that...
Absolutely. 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 To whom much is given, much is expected.
All right.
But we still would have to be able to manage that which we expect so that we don't get disappointed.
That's fine. Awal Mohammed has joined us now. He's from the NPP's Communications Directorate. Awal, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. You just joined us at the right time, although late. Yes. What is on your mind? What can you share with us this morning before we get into the newspapers?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good morning to our cherished viewers and my co-panelists. And yes, yesterday we launched the Patriotic School at the party headquarters, where we had all the party bigwigs coming. The Patriotic School is very necessary at this point because we wanted to at least teach almost every member of the party the philosophies of the party, the values, the history of the party. And there will be courses that will be mandatory for for party officers, and those that will be optional that people will be able to really join. And so yesterday we had a very successful lunch with a very powerful speech by President Kufuor about how we'll be able to really paint the right picture as the party, which is a democratic party, that we can elect anyone to lead the party without really looking at the person's ethnic or religious background. So it was a very powerful message yesterday, and it has come at the right time when there were a lot of things against Dr. Bawumia, not really because of his competence, but because people think that he's a Muslim or he's from the north and so on. So I think it has come at the right time, and we have launched the school, and the modalities will come for all party people to be able to take advantage of it.
Okay. I want to start from this story, public or human interest stories. This affects the average Ghanaian. PURC increased electricity tariffs by 2.45%. And they're saying this... You got excited.
You are giving brother smash to my brother.
I wonder why you...
No, I mean, you see, once you're in opposition, when these things happen...
You're excited. See, when you started, you went to an exam and you saw your question you prepared for.
Because they've been waiting for you. Anyway, so, well, we know the story. Yesterday, I think on the midday news, on Joy News, JN Today, I spoke to the director of research, I think, from PURC, and he was justifying this tariff adjustment, upward adjustment. He said that ordinarily, there's a lump sum adjustment they have to do. But because they don't want the Ghanaian to feel that pinch all at once, they did that 50% in the second or third quarter. Okay, this is the third quarter. And so they're going to be doing this quarterly review, upward adjustment, which is why we are seeing this now. And they're talking about debt that is, crippling the energy sector. They talk about detailed analysis of the macroeconomic and operational factors. They're talking about exchange rate fluctuations, rising fuel costs, inflation, etc. But the question I ask is the average Ghanaian ready for this? This year alone, this will make the second time we are increasing electricity tariffs from a little above 14% 2 or 3 months ago to this. I will come to you, Mr. Battaglia, last because you are in government. Let's hear from those in opposition and those who are neutral before I come to you because you have the answers. Nana Osapong, how did this news come to you yesterday?
When I have not even spoken, a former MP of the ex-Royal government is sending me a WhatsApp saying that he's actually monitoring to see what I would hear what I would say, but
on the electricity tariff, okay,
because I've had a stand, and I have said that the indicators that the various utility what was the name, the institutions had always put in their proposals and put in before PURC. Once those indicators are having some improvement or see some improvement in those indicators, it should be reflected in our what's the name, the adjustments. Okay, so one of them has to do with the exchange rate, with which we've seen some improvement. The other has to do, I mean, most of them rallies around the forex, whether it's operational, whether it is whatsoever, it rallies around.
I think it's actually the pivot around which the other indicators revolve. Yeah.
But you see, it's a bitter pill. It is a bitter pill. If you had listened to the PURC head of research and corporate affairs yesterday, you would understand that this is a bitter pill we would just have to swallow. In as much as government is doing all it can to be able to help the livelihood, make livelihood much more easier, it is a bitter pill that we would have to swallow. How did we get here? That is what we should be discussing. And how do we move out of the place? You see, sweetie, when it comes to water and electricity, I always say that these are two major elements when any country wants to move forward in terms of industrialization and would also want to move forward in terms of security. All right. And so you cannot just take decisions anyhow when it comes to water and electricity. All right. Sweetie, this dates back to when we had signed the IMF deal. This dates back to when we had signed the IMF deal. What had been the conditions in respect to the IMF deal? Now, the decisions that are taken, if you had listened to the gentleman yesterday, tells us that even if they had pushed, all right, that the consumer should absorb all of it, then it means that it would have been higher than where we are today.
You think the justification the PRC is given is okay?
No, I'm not totally in support of their justification.
Okay.
But what I am saying is that there is a bedrock on which they are moving. Okay, what is causing it? And you see, they added new indicators, the outstandings and the money that they would need to be able to raise that's the cost of the liquid fuel. All right, these are all indicators we should be looking at. And if you had listened to him very well yesterday, I think that the cost of fuel that they were talking about runs around 27%. All right, and that is pushing some things. It should give us an opportunity to discuss how we would move out, the infrastructural investment, how to even move fast on the solar. Okay, to be able to reduce the cost in terms of fuel and even to expand our natural gas, which they are doing. So personally, it's a bitter pill. And the PURC and the power producers should be able to do something around it, and as much as it is.
All right. Awal, seeing now you are visibly excited to get a bite at this, let's hear you out now.
Thank you so much. I think I was very much surprised to see this adjustments because we were expecting a downwards adjustment. I remember about a month ago, I was on this show when I said because the factors or the variables they used to increase it to 14.7 was inflation and exchange rate. That was what they used. So when the dollar, the cedi started coming to around 10,
11.10, yeah.
11.10, I mentioned it on this platform that because now the variables are now looking good, it's better they reduce it.
But it's not an automatic. It doesn't reflect automatically. You know, it takes time for
yes.
the. Okay.
So that is the reason at that time we were not insistent on them doing it at that time. We knew that there would be a window, which is the second quarter, so that they will be able to reduce it. Because if you check the exchange rate now, it's around 11. The inflation that they used at that time was 21. Today, it's 18, right? So I'm surprised that they will come up with an upward adjustment, especially looking at the government that came on the back of 24-hour economy. And in the 24-hour economy, they promised us a reduction in electricity tariffs. You remember what Asiedun Ketia said, that welders and others who wants to take advantage of the 24-hour economy will have a reduced electricity so that they will be able to really produce. So now you're doing 17.1% just within the first 6 months of your administration. When I hear people say that it is IMF conditionality, last year around this time, there was a reduction, about 3% reduction. Cumulatively, last year, we did 6.3% cumulatively for last year. And we're still with the IMF. So I'm surprised that someone will sit here and tell me the IMF. There should be a quarterly adjustment, is true. But a quarterly adjustment should not be always reviewed upwards, looking at the variables and so on. The PURC will always explain. But I think this is untenable. This is something that I have heard a lot of people are saying that you didn't even reduce it from 14.7. You are now increasing it, and just within 2 months, it was in May that they increased. Now, just within a month, they have added 2.5%.
Okay.
So it tells you how insensitive the government is, because the electricity, almost every Ghanaian, at least uses this electricity. And even if you don't use electricity, you go to the corn mill and so on, you still have to pay for it and so on. So the government must take steps to allow the, as we did with the Dumsor levy, to also put this one also on hold, so that at least we look at the exchange rate and the inflation, because the inflation is still trending downwards. It's around 18% now. Right. The exchange rate, even though Abuchi is doing 13, but at least Bank of Ghana, we're seeing around 10, 11. Oh, but Abuchi has the dollar, you know. But the Bank of Ghana will only have the rate. You understand? So the government must take steps to allow them halt this one, even if it is pushed to the next quarter. That will help us.
All right. So, Mr. Battaglia, it appears the argument is your government says Ghana is experiencing some sort of economic rebound. We are recovering. We're doing well. The macro indicators, they say, inflation, you know, the figures look like we're doing well. Yeah. So how has it come to be that we are seeing upward adjustments of electricity tariffs twice in the 6 months of 2025? Help us make sense of it.
Great. Ziti, I think that we have greeted ourselves. Let me just say a very good morning to my good brother, Awa. He's doing so well. He's trying. These are difficult times for them. Really, Sweetie, I want to start from a point he made, that he's surprised. Even if you follow through the conversations or explanations of PURC, they themselves indicated they themselves are even surprised. But what is the surprise for? This is the time we are matching pragmatism, reality, as against our rhetoric. We have to look at the issue holistically. We have found ourselves in a situation where we need to deal with the realities. Well, he indicated perfectly the indicators where we talk about exchange rate, we are looking at inflation. But fast forward, if you look for the past 6 months, we have had we have had very good indicators in relation to this, results in relation to this, because we have the dollar moving from 15.5 to now 10.3 thereabout. We have inflation moving from 23 to now 18. But that said, one would have thought that, yes, the condition we went into that will require that quarterly we have to do an adjustment of our tariffs based on the 300 million that we took. We are also bedeviled or saddled with what? Over 500, close to 500 million. That's 488 million Ghana cedi debt. And we are confronted with issues about reserve capacity. And we are confronted with issues of what? Liquid fuels. Even if they want to go on the liquid fuel alone, we'll be increasing this by close to 54%. We are told even this increment just goes to, has wholly been consumed by what? The debt that we are trying to deal with. Because to talk about 24-hour economy, you must have your industries running. And you cannot be playing the ostrich when the reality is staring at you. And I think that this is the time the government wants to take bold steps, even though painful. But this pain cannot in any way be compared to what we experience. We are experiencing an increment, a marginal increment in tariffs, vis-a-vis a reduction in many sectors of our economy. Food, now if you go to the market, people are rejoicing. Yes. People are rejoicing. You're talking about transport system.
I know people who disagree with you.
No, people who disagree, but the reality is also there.
Including yourself.
No, the reality is there. Let me tell you, for instance.
I'm not part of the...
We are here when somebody, before we were buying oil, just a gallon of oil, 8,000 Ghana cedi, it's come down. A lot of food items have gone down. I am coming from an agricultural hub, that's the South East. We are even now struggling to even sell our maize because the prices have dropped to 400 Ghana cedi per bag.
But you see, that's actually the norm up north, you know. It's always different. The prices are always different here in the central business district, here in Accra. So if you're buying things at relatively cheaper prices up north, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're also having the same experiences.
No, but...
I'm restricting myself because I haven't personally been to the market in a long while, so I do not know. And I used to go and I'll come and sit on there and say one ball of tomato is too expensive. You know what I mean?
Those stories are far gone. Those stories are far gone.
But the point I'm making is, if we are indeed recovering and seeing these positive indicators that you talk about, how is it that it's not reflecting in where it's actually supposed to aid or cushion the pockets of the Ghanaian? Albeit you did increase the wages, but it looks like after all these tariff adjustments, we are back to the exact same amount of money that you...
I am making this point that we are trying to fix a very broken foundation. For the country to propel economically, we depend on industry. And industry will have to depend on a power. So if you have a system that you don't even have a reserve capacity, one day we're leaving, they left about 5 hours reserve capacity for us. We saw that.
But that was a lie.
But that's what the minister said.
I don't think
after 5 hours, Ghana
didn't... The minister himself said that.
They did
Ghana didn't shut down after 5 hours.
But you know, they ordered fuel from Nigeria, US.
You see,
and it takes days for it.
I followed that conversation.
It's not one day that you just order for crude. It comes from Nigeria.
It was his time. Let him land. I'm happy to listen to you.
Let's not go there. A lot has happened. People did a lot to fix this country moving. And I think that we don't have to go to sleep just because we have to use this time. Even if you look at it, he was talking about the deal they are talking about. We're looking at a situation where we can deal with this liquid fuels. Well, we have fuel prices moving from 17 down to 12. And with his ingenuity, the Minister of Finance thought that, yes, to deal with this issue that is staring at us, because if you do everything and everything is moving and you don't have a stable power, because per the research of even the preliminary research of PURC itself indicated that 59.4% of people, Ghanaian, prefer to have very stable power with a marginal increase in in tariff, rather than having lower tariffs with unstable power. And I think that once you have the sentiments of people who are buying into this, it's better for you to do the right things to keep this economy moving.
All right.
We will not take chances. We will do everything. But nobody can compare the hardships previously compared to what we are seeing today. No.
I think we can move past the comparison.
Exactly.
So let's stick to today's realities.
If I may, you see.
Well, don't worry. I'll come back to you in a bit.
We should understand that an economy that is broken would have to first of all stabilize.
Exactly.
Before it grows. And in an economic stability, you do not immediately see reflections of good and prudent economic decisions happening. You do not immediately see it. So let us understand that you are making a statement about the North and the South, which has, to me, it is the patriotic nature of the people. Now, if you blame price hikes on exchange rate and the cedi has appreciated and the dollar is down, because we do not operate an open market and government does not absolutely control, in fact, not absolutely, government does not control.
It's a free market.
It's a free market.
Yeah.
It is up to the person who is important, because all government does is to negotiate and to create that environment, okay, for price control. That environment has been created. Exchange rate is doing well. Inflation is coming down. You understand me? We have electricity, we have water. So what's happening? So if the people in the North have been able to consider these factors and have reduced their prices, why are we those in the South not doing the same? That is a mindset that we need to work on. And sweetie, you see, there was so much debt in the system. And that is why, personally, I was against the suspension of the 1 cedi that was supposed to be used or channeled to the payment of the debt and also for investment into the energy sector. Let us deal with the comparison is shouldn't be.
We have to move on.
Now.
I want to give Awal the chance to comment.
Yes, so when I hear people talk about debt at ECG, so we should be paying to clear that, those debts, I get surprised because, you see, we cannot continue to be paying for the inefficiencies of ECG because today I have seen a report by Joy News that 32% of the electricity that the ECG buys, they are not able to account for it. So the losses alone is 32%. So even if you increase the electricity by 100%, we'll still not be able to pay. Again, we kept the light on for 8 years. We had challenges of like 2 months, 3 months of doom so. But today, people are still experiencing doom so with the increment of 17%. That is the reason we're saying that don't implement this 2.45%. We are already reeling under
so let me ask you this.
14.7%.
You said that you get surprised when the Ghanaian is asked to pay for the debt that ECG has accumulated over the years. And mind you, we can call these legacy debts.
Yes.
Okay. So what is your approach or what is the strategy here? Do you think we should use to clear these debts before we can begin to see some clarity?
We have to address, because when this government came, even adverting, what Jinapo told us is that they will want to privatize ECG so that they will be able to cut down on losses. That was what
we all kicked against.
You understand? But there is a report. There is a report.
Of course, we know. There was a committee set up. The findings are there.
Even
This public knowledge.
Yes.
So are you saying that that's the way to go?
Now, they are still implementing.
We are looking for solutions. So let's have a conversation. Are you saying that the best way to approach these clearing of debts in the energy sector so the Ghanaian can stop carrying the weight of it is to privatize ECG?
You see, I am not saying we should privatize ECG, but I'm saying that we must address the inefficiencies, the reasons why we have the losses. They think that privatization is the best way to go.
No.
And you remember, you even interviewed the former CEO who told you that at least they are able to cut some of the losses.
So
you understand? So we will have to address the inefficiencies there, because today, even if you increase it by 100%, they will still record losses. Then we'll not get stable electricity and we'll pay higher for electricity. That's my point.
Is it a case that, I'll come to you, Nanayo. Mr. Batagla, is it a case that these suggestions that Awal is giving may actually hold the key to your quest to, clear the debts we have in the energy sector? He's talking about fixing the system. I don't know whether simultaneously or one before the other.
Clearly, with all due respect, my brother, apart from just drumming home populist sentiments, right? I'm not sure what he's saying holds water.
But it does, because we saw the report from the electricity something. There was a committee set up by Jinapo to investigate how we can...
investigating and looking at multiple measures to deal with the issues. one of such is to look at partnership. That's what they are looking at. It's look at first, because it's not about entire giving out ECG to people. No, that's not. One of such is to give some portions of control, because it's like leakages are there and they're trying to, even that's why they came with that kind of single account, where all funds should move into a single account to be monitored. Before, we're having about 84, so nobody even knows where those monies goes into.
Okay, so then I guess everyone is wondering, aside billing the Ghanaian, what is the approach here? How do we ensure that in the next 6 months that left of this year 2025, the Ghanaian does not continue to bear the brunt of the debts of the energy sector?
Of not misappropriating the funds, pay monies where they are supposed to go to. Not the case of ESLA. Monies moved to do something different. That's not what we are experiencing here. We are coming, the government led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is bringing a complete reset, where we are making sure that people will be held responsible for actions they take. We are looking at all that. And that is why we think that once we have this situation, if you cannot be bemoaning when that taking step, sometimes development is very expensive. You all know that. You have to be able to pay for. But you do that by knowing the kind of economic situations that we have. You do that by bracketing people, making sure that some people who fall far under the poverty lines are taken care of. All that. All those measures have been looked into, and we are making sure that it doesn't hit the Ghanaians so hard. We've endured a lot.
The best option is for you to increase.
All right, so let me take the final word on this. We have to go on. There's so many stories we have to get into.
If you look at the wastage in ECG, in terms of revenue collections, that is what we all had pushed, that something should be done about it. And this, I think this debate started prior even to the elections 2024. Well, if you looked into our great transformational plan, all right, the issue that had to do with energy security and diversification, we had indicated that for government to be able to deal with the energy sector problems, the first step is for us to look at the contractual agreements that they have with the IPPs, and to also deal or privatize the revenue collection aspect. You understand? Because revenue collection actually is not the main mandate of ECG. And if that is where the wastage is, the bulk of it, the chunk is, if we actually had dealt with that problem, we would not have ESLA being used as a collateral.
But you know, we have to also say that ECG we actually seen them do something. I know that last week or last 2 weeks, there was some sort of revenue mobilization exercise going on where they were set to collect about 2 million Ghana cedis in a week. And I was saying to myself that if they can mass up such amount of money in a short time like that, then they should just escalate and go.
So you understand that the revenue is a problem.
Yeah.
You understand?
But I mean, of course, at the end of the day, it's even government institutions that owe more.
We spoke about the metering, the billing, and the collections.
And so you should only fix the problem so that you shouldn't be paying.
But it doesn't take...
We cannot continue to pay for the...
We only fix for you to come and mess it up. That's the challenge we have. We fix for you to come and mess it up.
Who put blankets into boom, so you're talking about this? We kept the light on for 8 years.
The reduction that happened last year was purposely for election.
I didn't even want to go there. I didn't even want to go there. Those were political.
The chairman of NDC, right, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, is saying the entire leadership of the Electoral Commission must go. They are not fit for purpose. That's according to Asiedu Nketia. And this is coming up from an interview yesterday with advancements on PM Express. I know that the Electoral Commission has been the center or the hotspot for many news stories from the lead up to election to after election. As we speak, there's one constituency in this 9th Parliament without representation, and we are still trying to see how we can figure it out. But this is what he's saying. He has, excuse my French, bastardized the entire Electoral Commission and saying that the leadership must go. Because this is coming from your house, I want you to substantiate what he's saying. What is the reasoning behind this?
The reason is obvious. I think he stated those reasons clearly. And even they thought he was going to be quite economical. They asked him, do you ask for a change? Are you asking to change? He said, yes, not just changing one person, but until the top three.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And we all saw that. We lived in this country, just that the patience of Ghanaians brought us this stability and peace. Otherwise, what we saw through the administration, with all due respect, we are on national television. It's just like loading a gun and giving it to a child to play with. That was the kind of leadership we were looking at. And I think that we are all talking about building stronger institutions where we think that independent bodies, as enshrined in our constitution, should have the mandate to be able to look into people who are into governance and tell them that, no, we do this for Ghanaians, not just for political parties. But we didn't see that. And I think all those played out. This is time for us to reset the country. By resetting the country means that bring in people who have that gravitas to be able to stand on their own, to say that, no, I am here for Ghanaians and not because you brought me in.
Does it not merit any applause that they actually took us through the elections successfully? Of course, it had its own issues. We saw pockets of violence here and there. But at the end of the day, we sailed through. I think Ghana won election 2024, no?
I'm saying that I have no any scientific research, but I can tell you that their conduct partly annoyed Ghanaians. You could see how prepared Ghanaians were at the polling station. Their conduct annoyed Ghanaians. But the Ghanaian, and sometimes when you see the Ghanaians shouting, be like, you are a lucky person because they are telling you their sentiments. The moment they go quiet, they are prepared for you. And that is what we saw in the 2024 December elections. Okay. So I think that clearly my chairman, as we always refer to him, has said it and has hit the nail. He doesn't want to pretend over issues. We need to deal with this and nip it in the bud once and for all.
Wow.
I think our democracy is under siege because the same person, the national chairman of the NDC came and said the CJ must go. And there were trump-up charges and she's now facing the expulsion from her office. Now he has said this. I have heard that there are petitions already with the president. He's waiting for them to finish this one so that when they get an NDC chief justice.
And you are speculating here because yes, we do not know for sure.
Yes. That's when they get an NDC chief justice, then they can push so that they will be able to do what they are doing to Torkornoo today. If you ask any NDC person that tell me the reason why Tete must go, he cannot have even one charge against the other deputy. If you ask them about Bosman Asari, they will say that Bosman Asari has said that the NDC is a threat to, existential threat to our democracy. I heard him on Joy FM that day. It was Asiedun Ketia who said it, that the EC is an existential threat. Then he responded by saying, if there is any party, that is, any stakeholder that is existential threat, then it is the NDC because they are crying wolf when there is no wolf. And they took that, even though he was not supposed to respond like that. He responded to Asiedun Ketia, and that is the only thing that they will say. When you ask him, he never said anything about they did 1, 2, 3, 4 that merit that they should be removed. But because it is orchestrated, they said, well, when we come, we'll remove her. And they think that they will have to get some trump-up charges to remove her. You see, where we are moving is dangerous for our democracy. If it was wrong yesterday, it shouldn't be right today. If you equate, I don't know the charges that they are pushing, but when you check Charlotte Osei, in 2016, we were on her neck to give us a new register. We did all these things. After we won the elections, we never started any process to remove her until they started fighting. George Nopokwa, her deputy, Amadou Sule, and herself. They started writing to the media, explaining themselves. When Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, the Deputy Director Administration, accused her of some procurement breaches, then she also accused Amadou Sule, the late, of taking some 5.4 million from the NDC to do illegal transfers. These were the basis for them to be removed because they did not even conduct themselves well. A prima facie case was established, and there were procurement breaches that they even understood. They didn't even challenge it. But you see, this one, you have not seen anything untoward. But because you think that you bastardized her, you said a lot of things about her, so she must be removed. You even mentioned that, well, there were pockets of violence. When there is violence in elections, you don't hold the EC accountable to that. You hold, they don't man the security on the elections day. Theirs is to conduct the elections.
Electoral
Commission the security
is in charge of election.
They are not in charge of the security on elections.
Task Force works closely with the Electoral Commission.
So if there is
anything, they are not blamed. In as much as it doesn't exculpate them without blame, that's what it means. It doesn't also mean that, in as much as it doesn't make them guilty if something goes wrong, it doesn't exalt them of blame either.
Exactly. But you see, tell me which polling station that recorded violence. Polling station, not collation center. Because you see, the collation center, when you check, when the NDC sent their tax to ban the Ayawaso, what's the name? Okankwe
I'm trying
Central.
to remember where I was, where the violence started. It's
at a polling station.
Yeah, no.
When elections,
collation
center. The NDC massed up and went there. They bent three collation centers. Fantiakwa North, they bent the collation center. You understand? So how do you blame EC for the burning of collation center?
Those who followed the rhetoric of the New Patriotic Party in the lead up to election 2024 and listening to you now will say that the NPP has never seen anything wrong with the Electoral Commission.
No.
I can give you two instances. There was that attempt to remove the indelible ink, which caused public uproar. Ghanaians were livid because it was the only way to actually tell if they wanted to introduce biometric, and then there was the discrepancy between the figures that the Electoral Commission themselves were putting up. And then there were issues about these biometric, there were so, what's it called, the BVDs and the rest. There were so many instances.
The issues with the BVD where those missing.
I'm just giving you another angle to your point. There were so many instances where the Electoral Commission committed terrible mistakes, and they will come up and say they are pardonable mistakes. And the NPP never really saw anything wrong with those. So if these have culminated into the stance of the chairman of the party saying that they must go, and you say that they are being targeted,
he never said that they were incompetent. They were not able to really do their work.
But wait for the petition. There's a process to get them out.
So, okay, he's confirming.
No, there
is a process.
It's a process.
You understand?
Of course, there is a process. There's a process.
The NDC,
but we all know there's a process.
Has sat in their office. They have done
allow to talk. But hold on. Talk to me. Don't mind.
I'm saying that when the chairman started with the EC, with the CJ, we saw what is happening, what is playing out. Now there is a petition. Then you said, we don't know for sure. Then the MP is telling you that the process is ongoing.
No, that's not what I said.
You just confirmed.
No.
You remove them. There is a process. So,
remember before he said, I said, Awal is trying.
So, what is the process? Tell us the process.
There is a constitutional process. There's a constitutional process. There's a way we have to go about this. And it has happened before in this country.
All right, gentlemen.
It is because they have really made up their mind to remove these people. That is the reason he is saying it, to prepare the minds of Ghanaians.
And you are saying the evidence is what's happening with the current suspended Chief Justice.
Exactly, because they are waiting for an NDC Chief Justice to come so that they can...
So you were having an NPP Chief Justice?
Yes, that is what you understand, because you said that she being there will not serve your interest. It means whoever you are bringing in will be an NDC person.
Thank you. We got your point.
On the 6th of December 2024, I made a post. I said EC officials in some regions should be called to order immediately. We do not want to start mentioning names. And I mentioned Volta region, Ashanti regional directors. We in the Afro-Fronto are not sublets like others. And this was a statement. I attended IPAC meetings on behalf of Movement for Change. These were statements that were made by EC officials, all right, to the fact that persons who have gone throughout Ghana to ensure that forms were signed and processed were referred to as sublets. In an official meeting, when we had even called that minutes should be taken so that we are able to speak to issues, the three refused. On the 7th December, some EC officials are determined in their hearts to frustrate the efforts of independent presidential candidates and other smaller parties. How do you tell a candidate's agent he won't get a tag and still refuse to admit him or her to work? They refused us tags They refuse us access to tax, which will give you the legal authority and access to polling stations. Why? Because in their minds, we do not have agents in all the polling stations. Are you working by the law, is it EI, or you are working CI, or you are working with your own thing?
But they were almost right. Because there are police stations you had zero.
Let's hear that.
Even Baumia had zero.
No.
Even Baumia had zero.
No. Which polling station?
Even Baumia had zero.
Which polling station?
My brother, please don't go there. You brought him because you said he was going to sweep all Zongo communities and sweep all Muslim communities and the northern region. What happened? We don't have a problem.
Whoever will think that Cheddar can beat Afrafanto? Alan.
But Awal, I mean,
are you done?
Nana Sapon, hold on for me at
this
point. Awal, if you say that the NDC has targeted the leadership of the Electoral Commission because of their own personal vendetta, or so that they can bring in someone who's a sympathizer for the party. This is someone who's not part of the NDC, and he's giving you these instances. Are you part of movements for change?
He came from
the NDC.
He was in opposition and was also aligned with the...
Let my question
land. I'm saying that
boy.
He was an NDC boy.
So I'm saying that
if you want to go that way, as much as I'm a very fine gentleman,
hold on.
No, please.
Well, these are some allegations that someone from the movement for change is making against the EC, and I think your point is to say that there are indeed reasons why the leadership of the EC should be removed, correct?
I made a point.
So
I said during an emergency IPAC, a comment was made. Simple arithmetic, you cannot do it. And this was a statement that was made by a commissioner to a political organization.
But are these
of course,
are these big enough to warrant that the leadership,
if we have
three people at the helm of the Electoral Commission to be removed?
You do not know the impact of some
everyone wants to know, is this enough to remove the EC?
How would you feel when we seated here tell you, as a journalist, a broadcast journalist, that
well, I would be respected where I'm unable to be loved, so you can tell me that.
So a commissioner who's supposed to be a referee sits and makes such comments.
Okay.
A commissioner? No, how do you expect a candidate's agent to access a coalition center or a polling station when you have even refused him a tag?
Peter, I made a point.
The processes
just a second, I'll come to you in a bit, yeah.
The processes were, in our view, the processes were, I have, from the day those statements were made, at IPAC meetings, I told them to their face, I said, listen, if we would want Ghana's democracy to grow and our elections to continually to be free and fair, you do not have the moral rights to be seated where you are seated.
All right. So it looks like the Movement for Change, NDC, in support of the leadership of the EC to be removed, according to Johnson.
I started
my So one last story.
Long before now, Awal and his people have always been in defense of the EC official. We know that. They have always, they even spoken for them more than the way they spoke for themselves. And I said that this stability that we are enjoying is because Ghanaians are naturally patient people. If we were in some other jurisdictions, this country would be plunged into abyss. We all know that.
What are their charges?
I think the patience of Ghanaians is a quality and advantage that all politicians
are taking advantage.
But they have taken a due advantage.
It's the same reason why.
It's good to take advantage, but they have taken a due advantage.
It's the same reason why we are seeing these increments and the Ghanaian is saying, okay, let's be patient.
They have taken a due advantage.
Within 1 month, 17%.
They have taken a due advantage.
Okay. That's what you are taking.
See,
so
you asked a question.
Within the 10% increment in salary.
Gentlemen, let's have a conversation.
You asked a good question that had to do with election processes and the security. Look at what's happening in Ablikuma.
Yeah.
A court has ruled that the police should provide security. Now, how does the police provide security when the Electoral Commission, that is supposed to be responsible, all right, for the election, has not triggered the process of going to either recall it or whatsoever? Yeah. The police can say, okay, IGP can get up and say, okay,
last week.
I'm giving you 100 men. Where are the 100 men going? Who's responsible for the process?
Nana Osapong, restrictions on social gatherings due to the resurgence of COVID-19 on the University of Ghana campus has become very topical. as at yesterday, I know that there's been some confirmed cases, 2 or so. In fact, I have a statement here from the University of Ghana. It says that the Office of Student Affairs would like to inform all student bodies that due to the resurgence of COVID-19 cases on University of Ghana campus, it has become necessary to suspend all social gatherings with immediate effect. And I also read a statement yesterday from the Health Directorate of the university, and they were asking that the protocols that we're following during COVID time have been reintroduced, and so we should follow those strictly. Wash your hands, distance yourself at least 1 meter apart and all that. I don't think it's a good time for us to be talking about COVID-19 again, because just when the NPP in 2020 were seeing some economic, should I use the word rebound again, making some gains, even some of these international rating agencies started rating Ghana that we're doing well. COVID hit, and the results, we are still trying to pick up the pieces from that tailspin. And so we are seeing this resurgence again, and I want us to reflect on this. And let's move away from the politics for a minute.
I felt sad in my heart yesterday and worried as a Ghanaian and also as a student myself when I read the statement by the university authorities. And I think your cameras were out there and they interviewed some few students, and you noticed that all of them, almost every single person you had interviewed was worried. We cannot go back to those days. I mean, that was where you would find a lot of people exhibiting signs of depression and loneliness. And we can't go back there. I think the public health sector should take it up, and we should begin to do something about it. The disease control should be out there, and those individuals who begin to show signs of COVID or whatever, whether it is catarrh or the cold, whatever it is, they should find a way to deal with the matter. Health should be up and doing at this time. We shouldn't wait for it to escalate.
Thank you, Nanayo. I think we moved quickly from 2020. What a year. I still get a shakes when I think of 2020. What a year it was.
Did you take pictures when you were...
What?
When you were... Lockdown. Did you take
I became a content creator.
We have videos. We all became content creators.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I remember when the COVID-19 came, towards the end of it, the health experts were saying that it is something that has come to stay. It will not just go like that. Yeah. It will still recur and so on. So it's one of the reasons why anytime in my car I have nose mask, I have sanitizers. Before COVID, I never used sanitizer before. Never in my life used sanitizer before. But now I use it almost all the time because I knew that these are things that can trigger. Again, when you go to funeral and so on, you know, in our funeral, especially in Ashanti region, you greet everyone. You shake hands with everyone and so on. So you come back, you do it and so on. So I think there must be education by the Ghana Health Service. There must be continuous education. Since we are paying for the COVID-19 tax, I think there should be a fraction of that money for education, so that at least Ghanaians will know that COVID is not gone forever. It can still recur, so that we can take precautions and so on.
All right.
A beautiful submission by my brother. Clearly, I think that in 2020, we all suffered from what we call the fear of unknown. The world was hit with a strange disease or virus that people didn't know the form and shape. Today, as we are talking, we have standard health protocols that we can all follow. So I am advising that we shouldn't suffer from the fear appeal that we suffered before. What we need to do is to be able to make sure that we instill the protocols that are there to be followed. And clearly, it has also shown, I think so far, we can see the genetic of the African. Our makeup, our traits, make us a bit immune to some of these issues. So once you take the simple protocols, you are okay to go. I have worked, during that time, I have worked very closely. I work with an NGO that is more based in health. So when that happened, my bosses are based in Boston, Vitu Foundation. They are practical doctors. So they looked into it and they look at this and said that Africa, only 5% will go to the critical point. And that time it will become more of a respiratory issue. So if you remember, when they were sharing Veronica buckets across, I got more than 600 from our constituency, and we have to buy this cylinders, oxygen cylinders, to the rural health centers, like the CHIPS compounds, we distribute to make sure that when somebody is at that critical moment, we should be able to have oxygen to save their life. So for now, there's so much knowledge that we can leverage on to make sure that we don't create any panic again. That can be contained without it spreading to other areas of the country. Yeah.
I like that. So we know what to do. Let's not just panic because we know what to do. All right. So let's get to your newspapers now. You can give me your headlines and then 1 or 2 stories that pique your interest. We have about 15 or so minutes and then we pop off. I'll start with you, Awal, because I see the overseer.
Yes. Former national food buffer stock CEO reportedly picked up by IOCO. Story on page 4, and any effort to link judges' killing to your trial disingenuous. Gertrude Torkornoo. There is no political agenda to remove you. Government fires back at Torkornoo. Vote buy-in to rock GJA elections. Voters to get between 500 and 2,000 each. Hey. Rich, smart, and young. Brane Champon to contest for MPP flag bearership. Chasma Usi as GJA president.
Okay. So where should we start from? I think Brane Champon pulled a Baumia on Baumia. And I don't know what Baumia will do now. You know, he went to the church, the church that prayed for Baumia. And, I mean, how do you pull a Baumia on Baumia? Brane Champon.
Okay. So I will talk about the CJ and her press conference yesterday.
Absolutely.
No, but the host will ask me to read, and she will ask me which story I will pick. That's what. Give you a lead. No. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. I am not ready to talk about that. I think this is more pressing than any other thing because the CJ. You see, when you want to remove someone, the best thing is that at least try and be fair to the person. She has raised a number of issues that the venue of where the hearing is ongoing is not, she's not comfortable with that place. What will it take for the government to change the place? Why?
Should the government acquiesce to whatever demands the suspended Chief Justice makes in this ongoing case, trial, hearing of a sort? Should we acquiesce to everything or give in to the demands of everything?
But there are certain things that are basic. For instance, she says that same location was where her uncle was abducted and killed by the same government. Yes.
If it was an ordinary person who was standing trial for a case and had some past trauma about a family member who'd gone through that particular court and went to jail, and the person appealed, can the person appeal to the judge and say, because my cousin or brother went through your courtroom and ended up in jail, is giving me the panic, so I cannot be tried there? You're making the. It's
supposed to be a hearing. It's supposed to be a hearing.
And she doesn't have the. She doesn't have the right.
She says that
to determine where the hearing takes place.
It is done at the Chief Justice's conference room by convention. And she's telling you that this is the same location that my uncle was abducted when I was young and was killed. So it's traumatizing when she even passed by that house. And that is the reason she's saying that.
Why did you laugh? No, you see, these are serious matters.
No, when she drives past the place.
Yes.
Where?
You see?
It's the building by the roadside.
Oh. I'm saying that. She says, what will it really change if the government decides to do that, to change the place? She says, the case is against her. She says she wants every Ghanaian to see the proceedings, to see the number, the questions that are being asked and the answers that she's given. Government says no. She says access to her phone and her lawyers were denied. But the petitioners' lawyers and the petitioners have access to their phones. So clearly you could tell that they will want to frustrate her so that she can say anything. Then they will use that to nail her.
All right.
Because if you look at even what the petitioners and the petitions and everything in it,
he has raised a number of issues.
We should have said that she wants to see how they were able to arrive at the prima facie. GJA had come out to say, in the interest of transparency, government must publish how they were able to, the petition is already in there, how they were able to arrive at the prima facie case. You don't need to be a lawyer after reading everything to know that she has no question.
I've been told we need to speed this up, so I'll come to you now. Nana Osapong, should the Chief Justice's demand or suggestions or requests at this point be adhered to?
I'm happy she told Ghanaians the number of years she served as a lawyer, the number of years she served as a judge, so moving from the bar to the bench, and how she rose through the ranks. And so it means that she's an experienced person. She has seen it all when it comes to the judicial system and administrations in our country. And so with this weight of experience, this rich experience as a lawyer and as a judge, and having delivered a speech and having stated clearly for the understanding of Ghanaians that the law is the law, then I would ask myself a basic and fundamental question. Is Article 146 part of Ghana's 1992 Constitution? If it is, and the processes therein are indeed a law, then what is wrong here? Number one, personally, I think she did wrong by addressing the press yesterday. Article 1468 clearly states that the processes
sub judice,
in camera, right? Then she comes out, Chief Justice, to address the press on a hearing of a committee that is still ongoing. Which is, to me, I'm not a lawyer, but at least from reading the black and white I see, there's a breach of that clause. You understand me? Number two, the building or the venue for the hearing is part of Ghana's history. We can't wipe it off. We have had people who have worked in that building. Is it not the old castle?
And I'm sorry, I
think that Kobne J.
So we have to, yeah.
When he was acting or working with President Kufuor,
yeah,
worked in that building.
And your point has been made.
Father, you understand me? So I think that if we are talking about wanting to give her all her demands, we will not be doing.
All right, thank you. So you don't think we should have Mr. Bataglia, you have the final word on this, and we have to go.
What I just have to say, as a country, and especially with this reset, all we are aiming
with the reset.
We are aiming to institute a country that hovers on what rule of law and not rule of men.
The law is the law.
Thankfully, she's somebody that has the gravitas to be able to battle it out using the law. All that she has stated, right from the 4 thematic points she spoke on, ranging from being historic to human rights violation, I think that she has even instituted a process in the High Court to be able to challenge that. This is the way to go. But for me, I think that it is stipulated in the Constitution as per Article 146, and all that the procedure president have to go through. I also want to stand by the fact that there's no any personal agenda to get her out of it.
There is.
No, it is what is that we have, because it's a system that is working. She should be able to confront the system as per what the law says.
Which is why she's going to court. Her lawyers are going to court.
We felt that at a point she's venting her frustrations outside, and she's trying to call people around. But you see, when she does that, myself and Awal are there to talk for her. But when that affects her, nobody talks for us. She went through the process. Ordinary Ghanaians go through Western process like this, which is presented over. Yes, and that happened. So I think that this is what we are trying to do. The country is on a reset agenda. We will reset it positively to make sure that Awal has his peace to do his politics and go for his primaries in January.
And that's all that time will allow us for. But I just want to leave you with this. About a year ago, around this time last year, we saw that Ruto Must Go protest. And it looks like there's some disturbance again around this time in Kenya. If you missed it, the BBC's documentary, Blood Parliament, has all the details. But what's actually happening now is that at least 8 people have been killed and 400 injured as thousands took to the streets in a day of protests across Kenya against President William Ruto's government. And the police clashed with protesters in the capital and other cities, exactly, like I was saying a year ago. And looks like they're back again. They're asking for the same demands. Protests should not be destroyed, should not be to destroy the peace in Kenya. So this is still going on. Should I call it a Gen Z protest, like we used to say? I want to take quick comments. We do have to go, but I want to give you the chance to reflect on this quickly. Mr. Bataglia, let me start with you.
When
a year on, same violence.
Yes, same violence. I think that we can demand for our rights. We will do that, understanding that there's a process governing the conduct of everybody. So as much as we want to get things done, we should also make sure that we don't overdo it to destabilize a country. Well, like I said, countries are different and the makeup of the individuals are quite different. Like the Kenyans are much more different from the way Ghanaians will react.
True.
The way they react to issues completely different from the way we react. But I want to say that whatever they do, they can demand for their rights, but they should do that by making sure that they protect lives, they protect the economic stability, and make sure that they have a country that will save them.
All right, thank you.
I think it's a problem with the broken promise, because you remember he was a very popular person. He took on his president. He was a vice president running for the elections. He took on the president. The president will have to go and support the opposition party. He said he is in for the youth. He's in for the downtrodden and so on. Now he came in and started increasing some taxes and so on, and that was the first one.
Financial bill.
Exactly.
That, yeah.
So I think we will have to take cue from it, that indeed when you promise the people, try as much as possible to be able to fulfill, even if you are able to really start something, they will know. But
all right,
we're not far away from here.
Aim for the moon. If you don't make it there, you land on something else. Eh? What is it that
Ghanaian electorates are matured. Ghanaian electorates are discerning. The Ghanaian people have an orientation. And I think that it is one thing that has fed into our democracy, and it is one thing that has made our democracy an envious one on this continent. And I think that leaders from other African countries ought to be able to take a cue from us and to be able to deal with matters. And you see, it goes back to what I had started with, managing expectations.
Actually, what you're seeing on your screen are live, I think they just took it off, live visuals of what's happening right now up there. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for News Review. I've actually enjoyed the conversation. Your energy is rubbed off me this morning.
You enjoyed our while.
Yes, I did. Those who join us, Mohammed Bataglia is the legislator for Sisala East. Nanaya Ostapong is from the Movement for Change, and Awal Mohammed is from the NPP Communications Directorate.
No.
Stay with us. When we return, we get into our big stories. We'll be taking a look at everything happening in the judiciary, and today is Drug Abuse Day. So we have a lot of things coming your way. Stay with us, gentlemen.
Justice Gertrude Torkornoo is once again fighting processes to remove her, this time not just in the court, but before the cameras too, outlining 4 key reasons for breaking her silence this novel way.
Every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy.
Her message was strong and direct. She will not resign, describing the proceedings to remove her from office as unconstitutional, unlawful, and dangerous for Ghana's democracy.
If I resign under these circumstances, I will be saying that this flawed, unknown, and opaque process is acceptable. It is not.
This is the first time in Ghana's history that a sitting Chief Justice faces removal through such a process. Justice Torkornoo called it historic but deeply flawed, and warned of the lasting damage it could cause to judicial independence.
It's historic. In all of Ghana's 68-year history as an independent republic, there has never been a hearing for the removal of the Chief Justice. One would therefore have hoped that if such a process becomes necessary, it would provide good guidance and precedent for nation building. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country.
The suspended Chief Justice says the choice of Edu Lodge, cordoned off and heavily guarded, is psychological intimidation.
I was also living with him at the time he was abducted and murdered. Was Edu Lodge chosen for my inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so. And I continue to hold the view that there's no reason why a judicial hearing is being conducted behind the high walls of Edu Lodge.
She also challenged the 3 petitions that triggered her suspension, calling them misleading, misinformed, and in some cases, outright false.
And so I knew that it was necessary that the issues being thrown around as petitions against me needed to get into the public space. I swore to a supplementary affidavit alerting the Supreme Court also of human rights violations that I had started encountering when I went to the Article 146 hearings. However, the members of the Supreme Court that had the petition for the hearing in open, and they also struck out the supplementary affidavit at the request of the Attorney General. I have decided to make this statement today because the violations have not stopped. Indeed, they have escalated beyond anything I could have imagined as possible in justice delivery.
In the last hour, the embattled Chief Justice has taken legal action at the High Court, hoping to challenge the legality of the proceedings and to stop what she describes as a miscarriage of justice.
It is this total absence of compliance with all known rules of fair hearing that has caused my lawyers to file applications for judicial review in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void. Because the clear danger is that through this flagrant violation of CI 47 and the darkness of the current proceedings being held in camera behind the walls of Edu Lodge, my lawyers and I can come to the end of the proceedings. The evidence will show that every one of those allegations in the petitions that were given to me on 27th March is unfounded and untrue.
Justice Gertrude Torkornoo insists that she's innocent in the face of all the allegations that have been made against her. She insists that staying to fight is not a battle for her alone, but if she wins for the entire judicial system. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
So welcome back to the AM show, to our big stories today, and we're focusing on the Chief Justice's presser yesterday, in which she made a lot of revelations about this particular case that is ongoing. She says that the inquisitorial nature of that particular, process has now been turned into a normal litigation process in the court of law. We want to delve into these matters and to find out where lies the real fact that we all need to understand about this particular case. Myself and Sweetie will be doing this together. And joining us is John Darko. He is member of Parliament for Swami and legal counsel for the MPP. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. We also have Dr. John Osai Kwapong. He is a CDD fellow. Doc is joining us via Zoom. I'm grateful to you, Doc, for joining. Let's start with you, Dr. John Osai Kwapong. First, your thoughts on the CJ's presser yesterday?
You and Sweetie. I think for me, my initial reaction was one of a bit of surprise. Surprise in the sense that the nature of the proceedings is such that I wasn't expecting a full-blown presser that delves into the process, the issues at stake, etc., etc. But the Chief Justice feels compelled to bring her case directly to the public, and so I can't fault her for that. Except that I think, for me, it also raises some concerns about how we treat institutions, institutional processes, and whether sometimes some of these actions have unintended consequences of delegitimizing processes that are enshrined and spelled out in the Constitution.
Now, again, as we played in that report, she says she wants to fight this to the last end because she feels that if she allows this to go through, it could be done to any other CJ in the future. I mean, do you get the effort that she's putting into this fight from that angle? That being the CJ, she wants to make sure she protects the judiciary from these, as she put it, the agenda to make sure that they push the CJ out.
There are legitimate concerns about the design of Article 146, and particularly 1466, which deals with how you remove the Chief Justice. I have had occasion to write about it because I think we really need to go back, and there's a constitutional review process going on, but we really need to go back and, in my opinion, fix some of what I consider to be the fault lines in 1466, right? For example, I think it's a little too vague when it says that the Chief Justice can be removed from stated misbehavior, incompetence. The third part, unable to perform their duty, their job due to certain things, right? So, God forbid, but if a Chief Justice were, to lose their faculties, if they were to, pass away, it's obvious that you can replace. But what do we mean by stated misbehavior? What is incompetence? And my concern has always been that we need to flesh it out a little bit more so that if you are going to apply the highest form of sanction against the Chief Justice, which is removal from office, you leave no doubts in the minds of your citizens that he or she must have done something very egregious. So in principle, I can understand why, she and others would want to draw attention to the nature of how you deal with the removal of the Chief Justice from office. My biggest concern is that those who keep saying all of this is unconstitutional, in my opinion, have not pointed out exactly what the constitutional infractions are, right from the beginning up until this point. What is it that has been done that offends the Constitution, right? The Constitution makes it very clear that this is a process that has to be held in camera, essentially a private process. I don't like that. I don't like that because for me, again, if you're going to remove a Chief Justice from office, at least a bit of, transparency so citizens are not left to second guessing the motives of institutions is important. But we have to live with the constitutional prescription of what is. We can't use what ought to be as the standard or the measure against which we make assertions that something unconstitutional is being done. And that, again, for me, is my worry, even when I agree that in principle, there is some legitimacy to the concerns that we ought to be very careful how we treat the heads of independent constitutional bodies.
Let's bring in now John Darko. He's Member of Parliament for Swami and Legal Counsel for the NPP. And sir, thank you for your time. The Chief Justice, the suspended Chief Justice, fights on. According to her, despite what she calls the draconian approach in which the Gabriel Poman Committee is conducting this inquiry, she's willing to marshal through and prove how frivolous the allegations are against her. Dr. John Osai-Kwapon has raised a pertinent question, which I want to throw to you. Where is the constitutional infraction? Because she says this is unconstitutional. First, feel free to reflect on how or what you thought about the entire presser, but tell us exactly where the infractions are, for which reason we are calling these the process unconstitutional.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. So, I think, first of all, you need to look at the fact that the constitutional right of fair hearing is enshrined in our Constitution. Fair hearing demands that at any point in time, a person should be given ample time to respond to issues that are brought against the person, and then the person should have the opportunity to also respond to it. One of the issues I believe the CJ raised is even the finding of a prima facie case against her, that when the committee said they had found a prima facie case against her, she wanted to know, what exactly have you found? What are the issues? These issues were not made known to her as which particular area, okay, that they found that there's a prima facie case against her. Those ones were not provided for her. Clearly, it violates the right to fair hearing within the constitutional provision. And so, for me, I think that the CJ is right. If you look at the removal processes, yes, it is there, just like Dr. Kopon said, it is there, but it doesn't trample the other rights that she has as a citizen first, and of course, as a CJ of the Republic. And so she needs to know exactly what the prima facie case was. She requested for this, she didn't get it, she went to the Supreme Court and they didn't listen to her. So those are legitimate issues that she's been raising.
It sounds like, Kojo, just a second. Yeah. Mr. Darko, it sounds like the Chief Justice, the suspended Chief Justice, has no faith in the judicial system, and she's fighting to head the same system. That's what it sounds like, that she's lost all faith in the processes of the judicial system, which is hearing her case now.
No, I mean, you can see that she went to the Supreme Court with some applications, they've been dismissed. But because she still has faith in the judicial system, that is why she filed this process at the High Court to bring the proceedings before the committee, before that High Court, for it to be quashed. So if she didn't believe in the judicial processes, she would not be filing these applications. She believes in it. But look, let us not forget the political undertone of this whole process. That from day one, the president, when he was campaigning, said that he was going to make sure that she should move. The chairman of the NDC has said in so many occasions that she needed to go. And so she's a human being, and she understands the judicial process, but she also understands that there's huge political undertone to all of this. Everything being done is being done because of politics. Because for politics, these allegations will not even rise to the level it is right now. And so, yes, my dear, you may think that she doesn't have faith, but I believe she has. She has faith, that is why she still goes to court. But she also understands that the political undertone of this case, that this case is just a political persecution to get her out of the office simplicity.
Is that, right before Kojo comes in, is that justification for that presser we saw? Because ordinarily, she shouldn't be addressed in the public. We shouldn't be hearing her case in public, but she took it to the public.
Well, you see, it is very important. And I believe that there were a lot of things that you didn't know that now you know. The government spokespersons had littered the media with all kinds of allegations. They've been putting some of these allegations out there. And because you are not seeing her rebuttal at a committee level, I believe that it was important that she made the people of Ghana understand that, look, all the lies we've been hearing, all the stories we've been hearing, these are the real hard facts. These are the truth behind all the things you get. So I believe that it is the right thing to do. The people of Ghana, look, all of us, we serve at the interest of the people of Ghana. And so in situations like this, you need to let the people who you serve know and understand. And I don't think she's breached any provisions in the Constitution. The constitutional provision that the hearing should be held in Canberra is being adhered to. It's being held in Canberra. Even though she challenged it, even though she feels that this should have been done in the open, it is still being done in Canberra. But she needs the people of Ghana to understand her story. She needs the people of Ghana to also hear her side of the story, because the government communication has always been putting out light against her.
But I mean, she's a Chief Justice, and at least she must be aware that the same Supreme Court has in some cases affirmed that Article 146 proceedings must be held in camera. So why was she pushing, or why is she still pushing that this same process, because of openness and accountability, must be open to the public?
Well, I mean, I think that you yourself, you agree with me that this is unprecedented. Okay? This is so unprecedented. We've never had the head of an arm of government be removed before in this country. And so it is imperative that the people of Ghana are carried along to know exactly what is happening. So yes, she understands that one person is supposed to be held in Canberra. The ones that have been held in Canberra were not heads of these arms of government. So this is so peculiar, this is so different, and I believe that she was right in asking them to as it were, publicize it. Do you think, as a media person, don't you think that if this thing was being beamed live on TV, you would have helped all of us? Because right now,
even when the Constitution does not permit it.
So I'm saying that constitutional provision is there, but she is saying that she believes that her story has to come out there because the government spokesperson have already put out light about her. You have heard out of these petitions. How did you hear them? Because the government spokesperson put them out there. So it is important that for her as an individual whose reputation is being dragged in the mud to come out to explain to the people that, look, this is the issue. And it doesn't violate that provision of in-camera at all, because the committee hearing is being held in camera. But she needs to explain to the people of Ghana what she's going through. For instance, is it fair that the Chief Justice will be subject to the kind of steps you told us about when the Chief Justice is going before a commission of this nature? How do you suggest her to such kind of searches? If she doesn't tell the people of Ghana, how do we know how her rights are being violated? If she didn't tell us, were we going to know that her lawyers are not even being job organized? That's right, that you must have a right to counsel, okay? It's enshrined in the Constitution, and everybody is entitled to it. Why is the Chief Justice being denied the right to be heard by a counsel of her own choice? If she didn't come out, were we going to know? So for me, the need for us to know this, okay, trumps every constitutional provision you can even quote to me. If human rights are so important that in my view, just like any of us, all of us are human rights, provisions are so important. We cannot use these constitutional provisions, okay, to push away her human rights.
Let's bring in Dr. Kwapong again. Doc, so, I mean, the CJ makes a point about the fact that the petitioners are not being allowed to testify on oath, and she has an issue with it. Looking at the unprecedented nature of this particular process, do you think it is something that the committee should allow these petitioners to adduce evidence for the petitions that, or the allegations they level against the CJ?
You know, some of these proceedings are also guided by various rules of procedure. So if there is no obligation right, per the rules, that a petitioner should, appear before the committee and give evidence in person and, explain why they brought a particular petition before, that committee, then yes, it is concerning, but if there's no compulsion by law to do that, I don't see why they should. Yes, for me, it would be good that if I am going to bring a petition, asking for the removal of the Chief Justice, that I would want to make an in-person appearance and explain why, or, even subject myself to further questioning, etc., etc. But at the same time that we want to talk about, the rules of procedure and the rules and the laws that govern the way things are done, are designed to be carried out, we would have to apply those same principles and recognize the fact that the petitioners also, as per the rules, do not have any obligation to show up. Yes, it would be nice if they did, but if the rules doesn't say they should, then that's what we have to live with. For me, again, this just at least gives us an opportunity to really look at this entire 146, 1466 process, and where we can, fix, in my opinion, where some of the fault lines are. But what we have is what we have, and that is what we we'll have to go with, for now, even in as much as we would disagree with the design or how the process has been established. That is what we've been handed, and that is what the court has also reaffirmed in 3 different cases, that this is how this process should unfold.
In recognition of the processes, you just said recognition of the rules, because the rules are the rules. And to quote the Chief Justice's famous, "The law is the law." One of the most topical things, the fallout from that presser yesterday, is the use of what she calls an intimidating venue. Case in point, the Edu Lodge. Help me understand what exactly we do with this information coming to light, how it gives her some sort of emotional torture just driving by, how she's being tried behind these high walls, and is the same place that her uncle was persecuted, to sum it up nicely. How should we acquiesce to her demand that that place is causing her emotional torture, and therefore, because she's the Chief Justice, make an exception for her? Whereas we know that ordinarily, the hearing is supposed to be, happening in the conference of the Chief Justice and not somewhere outside. Help us make sense of what's coming in from her side and the response from Phyllis Kwachu-Fosu yesterday, Dr. Jonas Kwapong.
So I'm not one who likes to read sinister motives into the things people do. The caliber of the committee, the persons of the committee, right? You have 2 former Supreme Court justices. You have someone in the person of Domevlu, right? I would want to believe that these are not persons who will sit down and conspire to pick a venue.
Oh, we lost. Okay.
and break her down, right? I don't believe these are the caliber of persons who would conspire to intentionally do something. Having said that, I'm also a human being. And if the venue causes this kind of trauma, I believe that the persons on the committee are conscientious enough that, who knows, you can request a change of venue based on these circumstances that most of us didn't know that you've shared, to say that, hey, this place that you are bringing me is causing X, Y, and Z. Is it possible to change the venue? And see what happens. But it is hard for me to believe that the likes of the Movlo would sit down and say, we are picking this particular place because of what we know it can psychologically and emotionally do to the Chief Justice. I even wonder how many of them knew the story that she shared with the general public yesterday.
Interesting. But Doctor, for you, I mean, if you look at her statement and the fact that this process is still ongoing, she's also going to the High Court. What's your expectation of how or what impact this will have on the process itself?
I mean, I I think for the High Court process is to help address some of the human rights due process violations that she believes she is experiencing as part of this process. I'm not sure the impact that it would have of the process in terms of stopping it from proceeding. I believe that the process will still continue. How it continues, I'm sure some of these legal processes may either, like slow it down or whatever it is. But ultimately, I think the process would continue till the very end. Not until, let's say the Supreme Court were to really go back and reinterpret 1466 and sort of give it a different meaning. I don't see this not getting to its conclusion for the committee to then decide on, the prima facie case to say, yes, there's something untoward that has happened and therefore the sanction must apply, or that, after looking beyond the prima facie case, there's really nothing there in the end of story. But I think it would conclude and would go to the very end.
Okay. But what about its impact on the public? Those of us who don't know what's happening, but we are watching all of this process on television and what she said.
Yesterday, as I was watching it on the Joy News YouTube channel, one of the most instructive comments I read from one of the viewers was that if the Chief Justice has concerns about the fairness of the system, then how much more me, an ordinary individual? And for me, that is always the thing that I have in mind when voices begin to call out institutions, sometimes in ways that unintentionally has the consequences of delegitimizing them. And so for the public, that is for me, that is my worry, that at the end of the day, it can cause that division among the public that says, well, maybe this is not a right process. Maybe this is a wrong process. Maybe, I can't even trust my institutions. We are already at a place where trust in our key institutions are really low. It's very low. So that, for me, is something that the public has to keep in mind. And the way you ensure that the public doesn't continue to lose faith and trust in the system is if we make sure that whatever things we are putting out into the public domain are generally what it is. So if you are going to assert that something unconstitutional is being done, for me, you ought to have, you need to point out the specific unconstitutional things, right? Because otherwise you leave the public, or at least some sections of the public, thinking something is not right. And when you leave the public with the impression that somebody is violating the Constitution, all you end up doing is people continuing to lose faith and trust in the institutions designed to make our democracy work.
Doc, so does her fight, some have said it's admirable that she's choosing to stay on and fight this to the very last. She herself has said that if she doesn't fight, it will mean that she's agreeing that this flawed system or process is correct. How would you assess or, rationalize the fact that she's deciding to stay on and fight to the very last end? Does that in any way inspire confidence in the system?
She has every right to fight and fight to the very end. How you fight is because sometimes inadvertently in fighting, you may even unintentionally weaken the very thing that you're fighting for and fighting against. That for me is my only caution. So yes, I admire the fact that she has a fighting spirit and wants to fight till the very end. But sometimes in fighting, you don't want what we call a Pyrrhic victory, which is you may win, but what is the cost of that winning? And that, for me, should continue to guide us.
Okay. Grateful to you, Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. We'll let you off now. Let's bring in John Darko, who's still with us here. John, one of the things that she says, and I want to quote from her statement, says that in this case, the committee has not only permitted the two of the petitioners, Mr. Daniel Ofori and a group calling itself Shining Stars, are not to testify and confirm on oath the petitions they have brought against me, but they also would not call anyone to testify on their behalf. So as we speak, there is nothing before the committee confirming the petitions brought by these two petitioners. There's also no evidence given by them on oath to the committee. But I read somewhere that, as they say in court, parties do not put their pleadings in evidence in order for a trial to be validly conducted based on the pleadings. So what's the point of what the CJ was bringing up? Do you still have John Darko on the line? Okay.
I don't think we have John Darko on the line.
Great. So I wanted to get your point that
I heard everything.
Good. So let's have the response.
Yes. So I'm saying that, look, the CJ, like she said, is entitled to have these people appear before the committee for them to be cross-examined. Because you see, in the Constitution, she, as a citizen, just like any citizen, is entitled to have her accusers appear before her and cross-examine them on the issues they have provided, the issues they have sent to the committee. It is not enough to just write these allegations without any proof there. And so, if this case is going to continue at the commission, then the people must appear. They should back up all the allegations with evidence. Okay? But for me,
but lawyer, you do also know that someone can decide to abstain from appearing before the court, not so?
Yes, that's right. That in the absence of any evidence and the fact that they refuse to appear, these two, the combination of their absence and evidence, should make it easy for the committee to dismiss the petition.
Okay.
You understand? Because when you make an allegation, for instance, that she did not retire an imprest, okay, you have to back it up because it's just a mere accusation. Now she has evidence that, yes, I received this money, but I retired the imprest 2 days after I came. It makes the case of the petitioner very weak in my view. And so, even though she's making a point out of it, I am happy that the people have chosen not to come because they probably cannot back up their claim. I'm happy that they haven't given the evidence because obviously they don't have any evidence of the claim they have made. And all these things inure to her benefit in my view.
Okay.
Mr. Darko, let me piggyback from what you just said, that you can't make allegations without proof. Yesterday, she said that in the midst of all the brouhaha surrounding this, she has revealed that she has received threats and veiled threats to the effect that if she fails to resign or voluntarily retire, she will be made to suffer some harm or the other. Why is this not tabled before a court so that she gets the needed protection she needs rather than make this a public affair?
Well, very good point.
And where is the evidence even? Yeah, go ahead.
So, a very good point. And I think that she will probably put this before either the police or the court. But it's also important, like I said earlier, that the people of Ghana, for whose interest she serves, are made aware of every event. Because look, when somebody threatens you, you might not know when the person will carry that threat through. And so it is important that the people of Ghana are made aware of the things she is going through. And I believe that she's not just telling us. I believe that she's taking steps. If it's a threat of physical harm, she's made the effort of letting the police know this.
But if the Chief Justice is fighting over procedural breaches and she herself is following a path that is non-conventional or doesn't necessarily follow the rules of the game succinctly, where do we draw the line between who's right and who's wrong, and how do we even begin to bring some sanity to the judicial system?
So I'm wondering which part of the fight is against.
Well, coming to the public in the first place, making these allegations rather than going to the police, because you're saying that the processes, the way they're using or interpreting Article 146 is flawed, and you're also doing something that is contrary to what the Constitution stipulates, or the manner in which you can seek redress if you think you're being treated unfairly. That's two wrongs, right? Two wrongs. Go ahead.
This is the point. The Constitution doesn't say that the petitioner or the accused person cannot put her case before the public. Or the Constitution says that the hearing must be done in camera, and the hearing is being done in camera. But she feels that she needs to let the people of Ghana know what she is going through. That is different from the hearing. The hearing is being done in camera. It's not as if she's brought the petition to the petition process to the open. No, that's not what she's done. She is telling the people of Ghana that, look, this is your Chief Justice. This is what I am going through. My lawyer is being denied the right to represent me. Okay? I am facing these kinds of searches. And look, the point about Abdul Lord, she feels that it is psychologically traumatic for her. She needs to let the people of Ghana know. And look, before she came out yesterday, she had put this petition before the Supreme Court. She had put the petition to the members of the committee that, look, I am not comfortable here. And all commissions of inquiries have been done at the Judicial Service, have been done at the court. So why is this different? Why are you bringing me to this thing? She made that case to them, but they refused to hear it. So sometimes when you don't have the answers, you have to let your people know. She served the people of Ghana as the Chief Justice. And she said, look, people, this is what I'm going through. So I don't think that she's done anything procedurally wrong in this time.
Kojo, just excuse me one more second. I asked this question because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that the processes, the inquiry is sub judice, right? Which means that it's under judicial consideration and prohibited from public discussion elsewhere. Is this correct or wrong?
Well, it's sub judice. But
So if it is sub judice...
When a matter is sub judice, when a matter is sub judice, the law is not that you cannot discuss it. That has never been the case. You always discuss cases that are being done or pending in court. What you don't discuss is you don't prejudice the outcome. And I don't think what she tried to do yesterday was to prejudice the outcome. She is not prejudicing the outcome. She's just making a case. And for me, that's the difference. You are able to discuss any matter which is sub judice, but you don't have to prejudice the outcome. And I don't think she did that yesterday.
All right, thank you for joining us. We want to get some thoughts and questions from the general public listening to us. If you can stay with us a few more minutes, we'll be happy to come to you for some of the response. The number, okay, so thank you so much, John Darko. I understand we can release you now. And John Darko is a member of parliament for Swami and also legal counsel for the NPP. We want to hear your thoughts on this very crucial matter. Join us. The phone number to call is on your screen, 0302 211 691. Kojo, you know what's interesting?
No.
It's the interpretation that John Darko just gave to what sub judice mean. I thought that this means that once it's under judicial consideration, nobody should be discussing. And he says he's not preempting the outcome. But yesterday, the Chief Justice disclosed how some members of the committee are treating it. Talks about the breaking the rules of disclosure, how a petition, an application was struck out by on the order of the Attorney General. These are matters that are related to the case that is being considered, and she's speaking up on these.
One thing I've learned about this is that when it comes to the law, the lawyers, the people who know law, interpret it in different ways. So, I mean, it is for the court to decide that what you did is wrong or right. And so when it comes to these matters, I want to stay aware and let the legal people battle.
All right, so let's usher in our very first caller from Achim. New Achim Oda. All right, thank you.
They say New Achimota.
Oh, just yes.
Is that it? New Achimota.
Good morning, you're live. Has the Chief Justice courted any sympathy, you think, so far? What do you think?
Yeah, good morning.
Can you speak up
I wanted
first?
to comment on the last point that lawyer Judge Darko made. I'm not a lawyer, but you asked him whether the issue is sub judice and that they should not preempt results or whatever the outcome may be. But I think yesterday the Chief Justice did, because she did mention that it is possible the committee will go ahead with the issue and then the results will be that she's innocent. However, they can concoct a reason when one is not open to the public to say that she's actually guilty. So even lawyer John Darko is saying that she's not supposed to preempt or prejudice the outcome of the case. And I think the Chief Justice did that yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
the point we're making.
No, well, that's his interpretation anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody will also say, like John Dako said, she didn't preempt the outcome of the process. But yeah, like I say, when it comes to the law, everyone and how he or she look. The day we spoke to one Supreme Court former Supreme Court judge and a legal luminary, an older one, and how they both saw the law from a different perspective. I said, wow, let me stay where I am.
We have another caller from Yendi. Good morning. What are your thoughts?
Good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Share your thoughts with us.
Good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Greetings to all of you.
Okay, go ahead.
Madam, Torkornoo have to go. There's nothing can save her. Look at what she has done for the past. For a judge to sit on case and tell us that passport is more than birth certificate in Ghana here, Massa, and people accepted that judgment of. Look at the case between Abandabin and how do you call it? Afenomaki. The day the Maki take that case to court, no, that day, no, they take the case and bring it back that they should go on. And please, you this girl too, and how do you call it? Benjamin and Evans. I beg you people, NPP is gone. Whether you like it or not, NPP will never come back. If they come back or not today, you know what you people are doing.
All right. Thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it. Let's usher in Derek from Tabora. Derek, good morning.
Unfortunately, I think we've lost Derek there. Well, you can also call us and join us with your point of view here on the AM show. We've been discussing the Chief Justice and her presser yesterday. We're asking what you do make of that presser yesterday. Well, so you can join us. The number to call is on the screen. Call us and let's have your point or your thought on the presser by the Chief Justice yesterday. We've also spoken to lawyer John Dako. He's given us his understanding of the whole issues. Dr. John Osekapon has also joined us with his thought on the presser there. What do you make of that? Call us and let's hear from you.
See, there are some people who are downplaying the emotional trauma that the Chief Justice spoke about, but I think nobody can actually explain how you feel about the situation.
Yeah.
You know? And so we cannot take it out of context and say she's playing into the politics of what we're seeing. And
especially when she brings up the issue that same place was where a benefactor, I mean, the person who was taking care of her was, murdered, huh? I mean, you cannot take that away from her. That you bring that memory to her. And she said, at the time she was abducted, I was living with him.
So it's very raw. But that also raises the question of, should we be hearing this from her in the public now? Or is this something that she could have gone to any of the judges or the committee members and say, listen, you cannot hear this case behind the high walls of,
We'll come back to this after we return from Kumasi.
Okay.
Let's go to Kumasi.
Let's go to Kumasi. We have a caller. Share your thoughts with us. Good morning. Kindly speak up for us.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Eric calling from Kumasi.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
We can hear you now. Okay, I don't think he's still online with us. If he is, he's not speaking. But do call us, 0302-211-691. Kujo, I'm dying to hear your thoughts on the matter.
On that.
The last point I raised.
Okay, so we don't know. She didn't tell us whether she raised it with them.
Yeah.
But once she decided to come out to the public to let us in on what's happening, I didn't even know that where the place was called Edu. I knew that it was close to the. I mean, first it was at the Osu Castle. She had issues with it. Now she's revealing that this is Edu Lodge where her uncle suffered this kind of treatment. Well, whether or not we were right to hear, I'm glad that it came out. But as to how it affects the process, I've heard legal luminaries who say that she was even not supposed to have come out in the first place. maybe that will be the score. But
Robert is online with us from Edumase. Robert, what do you make of the current situation with the Chief Justice?
And to my view, for how long has he realized that there are some flaws with this process of removing the CJ? You see, if you are in an institution and you see that there's something wrong somewhere, you don't wait until it hits you before you start to try to avenge yourself. So now, what is at hand and on the table is what will get to that situation finally. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. I think, Brace, that's featured in your question earlier about, being a Chief Justice for over so many decades. You should have known at some point that the Article 146 was flawed. We have Hamza. I think he's a regular caller from Ashaiman. Hamza, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
What's on your mind?
Anyway, good morning. I'm saying that in the recent Supreme Court ruling, we heard that you cannot force anybody to testify. So I'm just surprised hearing the Chief Justice mentioning that the petitioners are not meant to testify. I think in just 2020, and then she was on the panel, just 2020, she said that the election petition, they ruled that a petitioner or you can't force anybody to testify.
Exactly.
I think that is the ruling. If my memory says me.
You're right. You're right. Yes.
Yes. And so why is she crying in the media? For saying her uncle was murdered in the laws. It's a total blackmail. Please, you should face the law and then stop all this. She just came to the media to criticize what is going on over there. That is not right. The Chief Justice must not do this. The Chief Justice position is not her best right. So she should go through the process, and then if she's exonerated, that's it. Thank you for doing a good work for Madagascar.
Thank you very much. So on that score, someone referenced me to some cases where that particular ruling was given that you cannot force a party to testify, really. But I guess that as the lawyers do in court, even though you know that this may not be right, but you could force your way. Someone come by into you.
20% of what it's written and 80% wisdom. We have someone calling us from Ablekuma. Good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning.
We can hear you loud and clear, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm asking that what the Chief Justice, let's put it full, former Chief Justice, she's doing now. So is it possible they can bring her back? Is it possible? And then if possible, so when they bring her back, how will she feel? Like staying with the others, everybody is seeing that she did wrong. But only her, she's seeing that she didn't do anything wrong. So can her come back to her office? And then if she come back, how she feel? Thank you.
Well, I think coming back to her office, she does not have an issue with her fellow benchers. No. So as for coming back, if the committee sees her to have no question to answer, and they throw away this petition as John Darko was calling for, of course, she comes back to her office as a CJ.
That's the whole point of this process, anyway,
yes.
to determine whether there's been some egregious crime committed which warrants her to be completely removed. Because as we speak, she's still just suspended to allow the processes to go on smoothly without interference. Unfortunately, this has come back into the media domain, so we will talk about it, and that's why we're asking you to call us. I think we have time for a few more calls. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. And Kojo, did you listen to the entire presser yesterday? I found out that the Chief Justice had a calmer tone compared to the other pressers she's had. I listened to her leading justice press conference and watched her during the LGBTQ debates and hearings. I think she was very up on energy in those instances. But yesterday there was a calmer tone to it, and I think this is all taking a toll on her. We are not saying it enough.
Well,
she's suspended for the very first time in our history. She's the first Chief Justice to go through this.
I'll come back to that. Okay. But let's bring in Angelo from Domipela too.
All right. Angelo, share your thoughts with us.
Good morning, sweetie.
Hi, morning.
Okay.
The Chief Justice, I think, is really going out of her lane to exhibit certain tendencies that we, the laymen who are not lawyers, would not even attempt to do. Because in any instance at all, if anyone appears in court and he decides to now come out to make the public know exactly what is transpiring within the case, you could be cited for contempt and all that. I have observed her over a certain period of time. I remember when she had to start over a case involving tide of story. There were certain objections that tide of story raised, and there was a banter between herself and tide of story. At the end of the debate on that issue with tide of story, she just looked him right in the face, a senior attorney, and told him that his argument was a total waste of time of the court, and that he shouldn't have even brought that up. And I was surprised because for a whole Chief Justice to look in the face of a lawyer, a renowned lawyer like Tariff, to tell him that he was actually exhibiting matters that was a waste of time to the court, I was really disappointed. So this lady's actions and inactions have been so much that I think the Ghanaian public have had enough of it. She should really, leave the office and let somebody better who is neutral enough to handle affairs of the Supreme Court, because she's done more than she can do now. And let us, ask her to sit aside and let the process continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. And Kojo Brace, we have some important pieces of information that we need to share with our audience now.
Well, are you looking to do things differently, to level up your skills and get ahead in this challenging job market? Statistics available do show that it's tough out there for university graduates with only a few landing jobs immediately after school. Now, doing things differently is what the Design and Technology Institute, what we call DTI, is all about. DTI offers programs ranging from precision welding and fabrication, design innovation, including graphic design, sound engineering, animation, photography, among others, and entrepreneurship. Our programs are internationally recognized by the American Welding Society, Pearson BTech, and CTVET, so you can shine here in Ghana or anywhere around the world. So if you are ready to do things differently and chart your path, check out DTI. Visit dtiafrica.com/admissions or call 0541693534 for more information. Sorry.
Yes, I also want to tell you about Nesta, because if you're looking for a home in a prime location, then Nesta's home has got you covered. Our properties in Tema, Community 26, just behind the Palace Mall, offer a serene atmosphere, easy access to transportation routes, and other social amenities. Off-plan prices start at $35,000 per. Contact us today on this number, 053-101-4440 or 053-101-4447. You can also visit our website at www.nestas.com.gh for more information on that. And I believe that's how we are wrapping up this segment on the AM show this morning, but there's still a lot coming your way. We're just entering the last hour, the fourth hour of the AM show. We'll be back after this break. Please stay.
Welcome back to the AM show. A reminder that AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, where they provide quality housing at affordable cost and with flexible payment option. So you can take that and take that option and own that dream house of yours. Now, also marking the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, we talked to the Mental Health Authority on impact of drug abuse and preventive strategies. I've been to some ghettos, and when you see people, look, brilliant chaps, when you speak to them, brilliant chaps, some of them too very young, and you wonder what led them to the place. and whether or not we can really get them out of the ghettos and rehabilitate them. So it's good that we're having this particular conversation. And to help us do this is Dr. Leanne Dede Sika Boateng, a specialist psychiatrist with the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, right? I got it right?
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So can we say Dr. Boateng? It's easier to remember. Okay. Welcome to the program. It's good to have you. I have a question. Drugs, I believe, are things that we take into our bodies to fix a problem. When you go to the hospital and you're not feeling well, your doctor prescribes a drug. At what points do these substances that we take into our bodies to help us cross the mark of helping fix something to becoming something that deters our mental well-being and gets into the abuse part? Draw the line between drugs that we are taking to help and then drugs that we take and it's not so good for us.
Yeah, that's a good question. So drugs, so we have drugs, we have illicit drugs, like when you go to the hospital or the doctor writes for you. And then we have the illicit drugs like cannabis, cocaine, all of those other things are illicit drugs. So when we talk about drug abuse, when you are using the drugs in methods, so some people inject instead of taking that correct doses that they've been given, or in quantities that is not appropriate, or using it for situations or conditions other than what has been prescribed for. So for example, we hear red a lot, and it's an opioid. Opioid is for pain. So if you are using a medication for pain for pleasure, then that's drug abuse.
But what makes them sleep when standing without them knowing that they're sleeping?
So a lot of things happen when you start to use drugs in excess quantities, okay? So you have your brain actually rewiring when it comes to using, when you start using drugs, there are substances that are released, proteins that are released, that kind of rewires the brain. So now the brain is actually all into a network called the default mode network. Everything is about you. You sleeping, you eating, nothing about going to work, nothing about engaging in other activities. Your brain actually rewires to put salience on you. So then now you can be standing there, you are sleeping, all they think about is eating, when am I going to take the drug? Because now substances or things that make you happy, like food, sex, even social status, that increases dopamine in your system, makes you feel good, now becomes something very little. Now you have to use a drug to feel good, and that's the only thing that makes you feel good. So you actually kind of go all out looking for the drug, and then you start to have the physical and then the mental effects of using that drug.
I've read somewhere that drug abuse or people who have addictive personalities, it's not really about the drug or the substance they take. It's rather about some gaps in their social life or the environment. So for example, if you see, like we just played that promo of the, harmful doses also coming soon. The guy said he used to take it for strength, and now he can see that his strength is dwindling and he's about to die, So I guess the question I'm asking is exactly what constitutes that addictive personality so that you know and be on the lookout to completely stay away from drugs so you are on the safe side.
It's in phases, okay? When you start using drugs, for example, you're using alcohol, it's a illicit drug, all right? At first you can take a small tot and you're feeling good. Now it gets to a point where a full bottle will not give you that same effect. Just because your body is getting used to it, something called tolerance. So now you need higher doses to achieve that same effects that you used to have. So now when you're saying someone is dependent on a drug or addicted, I should say it, number one, they become tolerant to the drug. When they stop using the drug, they start to get effects. So they start to shake, they're sweating, they're having abdominal cramps, they're not feeling muscle pain. Yes, they're having withdrawal. Or it gets to a point where they are becoming, they focus only on the drug. So they're not going to work, they're not going to school, they're not talking to their families, everything. They don't mind falling in the gutter, they don't really mind whatever is happening. All they want is to get the drug. Now, when you get to that point where you realize that you cannot control how much you are taking, you cannot control the symptoms, that you have to take some of the drug to to relieve the withdrawal symptoms that you're getting, or you're using more of the substance to get the same effect, then you say they are getting dependent on it. And that becomes a problem. So it's okay to use a little alcohol once in a while. But when you use it to a point where you wake up in the morning, you have to take it, otherwise you are shaking. Or when you don't take it, you are having seizures or convulsions, so everybody is talking about, everybody is saying, stop it, and you are still using it. You can't control yourself, then you say you are dependent.
Help me, Kojo, before you come in, understand whether or not it is true that there are some personality traits or there is just something about your genetic makeup that makes you more susceptible to addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever. And there are people who don't fall in that category, because I know a good number of people who tell you that they don't even bother with alcohol because it doesn't do anything to them. And then you know people who have been drinking all their lives and they'll never cross the red line. And then you know people who tasted alcohol 1, 2, 3 times and now they drink themselves to stupor on a daily basis. So what is it about our genetic makeup that actually constitutes to addictive personalities?
Okay, so that's true. You can actually there are risk factors or etiological factors that predispose one to using substance more than another person. And yes, genetically, they've seen that we did some research and we saw that some people, especially alcohol, you can see it runs in families. Probably the uncles are drinking, daddy is drinking, everyone is drinking. And then genetically, they may have some DNA changes or genetic components that make them more tolerant to the use of the substance. Now it gets to a point where they become now dependent on it. And then it becomes a cycle. Now instead of the genetic makeup giving you a risk factor, you also have social factors. So you are seeing your father drinking, you're seeing your uncle drinking, you start to model it. The children now model it. So a child will look at the TV and see someone using sticks of cigarette, and now they are rolling and they're also copying it. So then that becomes a social factor. And then also, we realize that some people, naturally, our bodies produce endorphins, or we have natural opioids in our bodies that make us feel good. Now, for some people, they have very little of that. So naturally, they are not happy. They don't feel good unless they take in something extra. And so, yes. And then sometimes, too, psychologically, people can be depressed, they are stressed out, or some people have social anxiety. They can't talk. They will say, I can't talk to you if I have not taken alcohol. That is a psychological problem, and that can also predispose you to using substances or getting you to the stage where you become dependent.
But are there red flags where one will see that I'm crossing the line?
Yes. So, like the stages I gave earlier, you see that now you wake up in the morning, the first thing you're thinking about is, I need my drink now, or I need to take a pill now. Because when you don't take it, you start to have withdrawal symptoms. So you're feeling, your mood is low, you're feeling anxious, you are feeling jittery, you are sweating, you're shaking. You know that if I don't take the drug, I'm going to go through this discomfort. So some people actually, when you get to that point, you say that you need the drug every day. Then you've crossed the line. Or when you say that everybody is talking about it, it's affecting your social life, your work life, your family life, then you know that, no, it's a problem. I have to stop now. Or you tell yourself, today I'm only going to take 1 bottle. And then you find yourself taking 6 bottles. And that's a problem, because now you've lost control. So when you see you're having loss of control, you're becoming dependent, you are taking more to get the same high you used to feel. 2 bottles used to make you feel so good. And now you need to take 6 bottles. Then you're crossing a line. So, yes.
As for these young people that I've seen, I'm not sure they will even be willing to say I'm crossing. Yes. We have to see it and offer the help. How do we prevent these things?
So we have to prevent it. So it's a lot of things to do. Okay, when we talk about prevention, we're talking about primordial, primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. So primordial, right from the womb, your mother has to be well, eat well, nutrition is good, you know that your child is coming out, the brain, everything is formed well. Then Primary, we want to make sure that the family systems are strengthened. You know, we've seen that people who were abused, emotionally abused when they're younger, or if they have family members who are smoking, they are drinking, they are modeling, they're going to copy that. Right from there, we have to prevent it from there. Primary prevention also, schools, we have to talk to the teachers, to talk to the students. They have to learn how to say no. You know, adolescence is a stage where a lot of people are ready to experiment. They can't say no because their friends will bully them. So learning how to say no, that no, I'm not going to take it because your mom has told you that this is going to be the effect. Your teacher is talking to you about it. We need to talk about mental health, substance use, and we don't have to hide these conversations. And then the mothers, when you notice or fathers, you notice that your child is falling into bad company or you're suspecting something, don't close your eyes on it. Don't pray it away. Confront the situation head on. Have honest conversations with them, and then we are preventing it. Now, secondary, we have to do screenings. So I know that there are screening, there are public screening methods going on where you get screened, you go through a questionnaire, we say, oh, you have a problem, we are going to help you. Or we get to the tertiary prevention where now the problem has occurred. They are using the drugs. So what are we going to do to stop them from using? They have to get all the help they need. It's not just, sometimes our medications we can give, then we have psychological tools we use on them, cognitive behavioral therapy, therapies to help you, 12-step, Alcoholic Anonymous, Narcotic Anonymous. There are groups that you can join. We have addiction units in most of our hospitals. Kolebu has an addiction unit, Accra Psychiatry, Pantine. We have OPD rehab. So OPD, you can walk in, do your rehab, and then go back home. Yes, and then we need to, at every point or at every stage, we need to do something to prevent the wild effects of using substances.
How effective would you say these facilities that you just spoke about are in Ghana? For example, when you watch, I'm going to reference this movie, Euphoria, because I think it's the most popular one that comes to mind about addiction. And you see that there are actually so many facilities, options for the high in society, the low average, where you can go and find the help that you need. But here in Ghana, I don't think I've seen anyone go for an AA meeting. I don't think I have heard anyone say that I'm going to check myself into a facility. I know there's a facility somewhere in Jawulu where I know that place, but how effective are these facilities? Does the average Ghanaian even know that you can go for rehab when you feel like you have reached the red zone? How effective are these facilities?
Yeah, so that's why you come in play. You have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we have facilities. There are so many facilities, rehabilitation facilities. We have some at Pantine. We have some at Accra Psychiatry, Ankafo. Rehab is going on. And a lot of times we even have people coming from other West African nations coming to use our rehab facilities.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So mostly it's 3 months to 6 months stay. In-house, where we take you through the trainings, how to say no, our social cues, how to have good coping skills. So there are a lot of, and then the AA meetings, they are going on, but you are not seeing it because you are not really in that space. So the most important thing is you notice your friend has a problem, talk to your friend, bring your friend for help. Then you can
where do we find it? Because I'm sure somebody watching is wondering, where do I go? So where are these places?
In the hospital.
Where are the AA meetings?
We do it in the hospitals. We do it in the hospitals because it's a program.
So you mean you can walk to any hospital and say that you want to join the anonymous narcotic or alcoholic addiction, whatever?
You can walk in Accra Psychiatric Hospital,
Accra Psychiatric,
Pantine Hospital, and there are some few private facilities that when you enter, so I'm having a substance problem, we'll know what to do, what medications to do. We are going to take you through detoxification, support you, admit you if possible. Even if you don't have the money for admission, you can do outpatient. We have AA meetings going on, Kolebu, it's happening. All you need to do is to walk in and talk to us.
Okay.
You see, the point about the withdrawal.
Okay.
If I'm living in a house with her, what signs will I show for her to see that I am about to cross, and therefore she has to act.
Okay, so withdrawal.
Because the one you gave us was me, to myself, that, oh,
yourself.
Now I'm craving for it. But if she lives with me, she might not know.
Yeah.
Are there signs that I will show for her to see?
Okay, so every substance and how they show withdrawal. Yeah. So some substances are called depressants. So they make you like alcohol is a depressant. It will make you cool, calm, dull, but then when you're in withdrawal, you become agitated. The person will come there and shouting, or the person will start showing some aggressive behaviors, like I need to go, or the person may be angry easily, or triggered easily. So you can see that, no, this person's behavior has changed. The way the person is used to talk is changed. I know this person uses this substance. When was the last time you took it? So it could be that the person is in withdrawal. Or sometimes you see that the person is sweating. It depends. So something like the tramadol or the red, it's so common now. You said the person may be sweating, the nose will be running, they may even be excessively salivating. Yes, their heart rate, they will say that, oh, my heart is really beating fast, or they are breathing very fast, or they can even say, I'm having joint pains, my tummy is hurting. So you can actually say, oh, I know that this person has been using this. Why are you going through this? Hospital, just bring them and let's talk. And then let's talk about mental health. We are so hush-hush about it. We have to talk about, have open conversations. Oh, I see that you are using this. I know a friend, or I know someone who also went through this and is doing well. People who have gone through it also have to come out as ambassadors, and let's all talk about it and get everyone on board in helping the youth stop this pandemic, and then also support everyone who wants to get the help that they need. Let's stop the stigmatization. I mean, don't say that, oh, what dear, it's not a moral problem. It's a biological problem. There are brain changes, so they need support. It's a medical problem. They have to come.
They're saying addiction is a disease?
Addiction is perfect line. Addiction is a disease.
Yeah.
Yes, addiction is a disease. So it's not a moral thing. You can't pray it away in a prayer camp. Bible says faith without works is dead. So as you are doing your faith, come and let's add the work to it.
Addiction is a disease. So, I mean, I know you spoke about the triggers or what to look out for, but you also spoke about mental health, which makes me curious about how do you know that the substance you're consuming is affecting your mental health? So, for example, is there any point in the progression from just using a recreational drug to depending on a recreational drug to abusing the recreational drug where your cognitive capacity is dwindling? Is there anything like that so that people know what to look out for in terms of mental health?
So WHO will say mental health is a state of health where one is able to know their own capabilities, know their own strength, is able to contribute to the society, is able to be productive, is able to work well and learn well. So now you're realizing that you're not able to work well because your mental health is going down. When you talk about mental health, it's how you act, how you feel, and how you think. So how the person is thinking is changed. The person is now thinking, I want tramadol now. The thoughts are changing. How all the conversations is about acquiring the drug, or they're not going to talk they're not going to talk at all. Or how they are behaving is changed. You see that how you behave. You used to be a calm person. Now this person is seeing things, talking a lot, is acting unusual. His mental health has been affected. Or how they are feeling. Now you're feeling, you used to be a happy person. Now you're feeling depressed. You're feeling sad when you don't take the substance. So, and then it becomes a cycle. Now because you're feeling sad, let me go and take the substance, let me feel better. And then when you don't take it, everybody's talking, now you feel sad. So it's a cycle we have to break.
But it doesn't affect how your brain capacity to function?
It does.
I mean, in terms of, you've linked it to social life. So maybe you used to be a bubbly person and now you're showing signs of depression. But how about like memory retention?
Yes,
how about
So it changes your brain. So you used to be able to learn, now you can't learn. It means your mental health has been affected. You used to be able to think you used to get ideas. I had a patient, he said that, oh, I used to have a lot of ideas. I was very brilliant, but now I can't even think. Because now your brain has rewired that all you think about is the drugs. All you think about is how am I going to get it? I'm going to steal this person's phone. Now, no, crime increases, violence increases. I'm going to stab this person, take the phone, sell to get the drug. Everything is about the drug because your brain has rewired. There's something in the brain called executive network and the default mode. Default mode is all about me, me, me. Executive is work, other things, social, what people think about me, and all of that. Now, drugs change it. Now, instead of you focusing on the executive, you are thinking about default. Everything becomes about you. I'm going to steal this food to eat. That's all you're thinking about. I'm going to use this drug, I'm not going to work. So a lot of them don't work. Unemployment rates high. So it's a whole cycle. It's affecting physically, it's affecting physiologically, and it's affecting mentally, and then it's affecting our society. Because now someone will break your car window to take your bag or something just to sell it to fund drug substance. Yeah.
So for communities where these kind of rehab centers aren't available, what can we do?
What we can do is let's talk. We have to, when we make a lot of noise, the government will hear us. They'll increase funding to mental health authority, the mental health institutions, so that we can increase capacity. We'll train more people in communities. We'll get more community centers where we are going to do OPD rehab in communities. So we have to talk. Now, currently, less than 2% is being allocated of the budget being allocated to mental health activities. So let's push for more so that our communities will have recreational centers. There'll be more work for them to do because it's a cycle. If I'm going to work every day, I won't have time to go and sit somewhere and go and experiment with red or tramadol. If I have recreational activities, I'm going to be happy doing those things instead of engaging in substance use, okay? And then if my community, I'm having a community health nurse, an advisor, a psychologist that is coming every once a week, I know that I'm going to get the help I need right in my community. I don't need to travel all the way to Cape Coast or Accra or Kumasi to get the help that I need.
Can you recover or withdraw all by yourself? Do you necessarily need a community or a hospital to recover?
So I said that addiction is a disease. So it's a disease. So you can recover. I mean, there are some substances like cocaine. You can do cold turkey. You can stop at once. You get a few signs or even nothing at all, and then you get better. But then because it's a disease, your brain has rewired, it's very likely for you to fall back. So I have people who say, I stopped for 2 months and I started using it. I stopped for 3 months and I started using it because they don't have the coping skills. So when you come, we're going to teach you coping skills, anger management skills. There are so many skills that you learn at the rehab or OPD rehab or inpatient rehab that's going to help you for life on how to prevent or stop a relapse. Now, relapse is part of the cycle. So even if you fall, you can still get up. You just need the right support. If you're coming home, your family is not insulting you, say they say or the red nan or benum, they are supporting you well, your community is supporting you, you'll be motivated, you know, to live a life that is clean and a life that is free of stigma, and then you are able to go and focus on other things. So come to the hospital. Let's support you as much as we can.
Are you saying that we should be kinder to people who are addicted to substances?
Yes.
Because it is a disease?
Yes.
Because I see how the people who are walking the streets who are probably high on stuff that nobody, like the red guys, and we treat them like they're others, you know, they're not part of the community. But you're saying that it's not their fault, bring them in so they can get the help that they deserve. Would you?
Why is it not their fault anyway?
Well, she's just saying it's
I'm saying it's not their fault because it's a disease. I said their brain is rewired.
They went for it in the first place. They got themselves in there in the first place.
But you know, someone is 8 years seeing their daddy drink all the time to cope with stress. they are depressed, what will they do? They will go and take a drink, because when I take a drink, I'm going to feel happy. Parents have divorced, the home is broken, there's no support, there's no one taking care of them. Okay, their friends is going to talk to them. Oh, try this, it will make you happy. They're going to try. So it's not entirely their fault. You know, sometimes I had a patient who went to a party and their friends put something in a drink to make him happy because they said he's sad. And then now he's like, what did you put in? I want more of that. I want more of that. So it's not entirely their fault. Sometimes pain. You know, I had a patient, sickle cell disease. She takes it, the pain is away. It goes away. I'm feeling happy. I want this. So it becomes a cycle. She's going to Okaishi, she's injecting herself, even though she's having a physical illness. But it's the pain that drove her to that point. Sometimes people who had accidents, bone pain, they give you the injection. Oh, it's really helped, but it's also making me happy. I need that. They go for it. So it's not their fault, you know.
But I think majority is due to
influence.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. Exactly. That was a word. Yeah. You know. Anyway, but as we celebrate today, is there any special event you are marking?
Well, I mean, I know the Narcotic Control Commission is doing something. They started Ghana Against Drugs, Red Means Stop campaign, and I think they're doing something on that.
So this conversation is just to create awareness that today is especially set aside to mark the International Day of Drug Abuse Day. Okay, and so we're educating our audience and giving them some guidelines of London sports to look out on how to catch it, recover if you're already in it, get treatment and the help that you need.
And also, you can get this helpline down. It's a mental health authority helpline. So just in case someone wants to call, you don't know who to talk to, you need help, it's 0800 678 678.
0800 678 678. That's very easy. Memorize it so that if you or somebody else needs that help, you can call that helpline. Could you, unless you have more, I think we should be wrapping.
No, I'm just thinking about the people I saw standing, sleeping while standing, and what I can do personally. The point is that we can only talk to them. All right? There's nothing else we can do.
You can bring them together necessary help.
If they don't agree to even come with you in the first place.
But let's talk. When we make more noise, the government will put in more structures. There'll be more support for mental health and mental health related activities.
But also that this is related to unemployment. Yeah? Lack of jobs.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. This is Dr. Lian Dede Sika Boateng, specialist psychiatrist at Accra Psychiatric Hospital. And actually, what you're seeing on your screen right now is someone high on red.
That's it.
Why do they freeze like zombies? Why do they freeze?
Yeah. No wonder.
Why do they freeze?
Their brain changes, literally. So they want to sleep. Why don't you walk to your room and sleep? No, I need to sleep now. I'm sleeping now. Yeah, so there are literally brain changes.
This is serious. What?
Well, be careful out there. Be careful out there. Don't fall. Kojo, you were sharing an experience about how they prescribed a drug for you because you knew it had trauma content. You refused to take it.
So, you know, I'm still treating my malaria. Now, one of the painkillers they gave me, when I read the leaflet, it had tramadol and the paracetamol. I said, how could they give me this?
Okay.
So I didn't take it.
Okay.
But my pains became severe. And I said, oh, okay, maybe. Then I took it.
Okay.
Because of the pains.
Okay.
I would not have taken it.
Is that a window? Is that an introduction?
So that's where I started from. Drugs. What are drugs? So it's a illicit drug you've been prescribed. That amount you're saying is 37.5. That's very little.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very little. 37.5, you get the pain. Now these people are taking 250. Some are taking thousands. Some are taking 2,000 a day. When 37.5 is going to do the work. So when you use illicit drug in quantities or in methods that are excessive, You can. That's what becomes drug abuse. So you taking your medication your doctor prescribed for you is okay.
Oh,
it's just for 5 days.
I nearly walked to him to tell him why did he give me that one.
It's just for 5 days. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming. Dr. Lian, like I said, Dede Sika Boateng is a specialist psychiatrist at Accra Psychiatric Hospital. And remember, today is International Drug Abuse Day, so we are creating awareness. Thank you for coming.
But maybe just before, Doc, if those people tell you that if you give me a job, I'll stop, can you trust them?
So they have to get treatment.
Before?
You have to get treatment.
Else, even if you get
because
them a job,
addiction is a disease.
Okay.
So you have to go through some support. You need to get the support because they'll tell you, oh, do the job. They'll go 2 days and they're back to it because of salience. Their brain is rewired. So they want to stop. Sometimes they come up, try to stop, but I keep going back. I don't want to go back. What can I do? Then we give you the support. We detoxify, we do OPD rehab or inpatient rehab, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Stay with us. Kojo and I return shortly for more on the AM show.
But just before we go, Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. And that's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntex tank has your back. So my people, Doc included, go outside, check your tank, and if it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that tough like a tortoise. Call 0244 335168 to buy now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
Well, I also want to tell you about the Jackson Institute of Technology, because if you're ready to dream, dare, and deliver in the world of IT, then look no further than the Jackson Institute of Technology. It is the only NIIT authorized training center in Ghana. At JIT, we provide world-class IT training for individuals and corporate organizations. We are equipping you with industry-relevant skills in software development, cybersecurity, networking, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, and many more. We offer globally recognized certifications, practical job-ready training, and flexible hybrid learning options, which allows you to study online or on-site. Our expert instructors ensure hands-on learning experiences that prepare you for success in today's digital world. And we are conveniently located on the Ring Road near Circle in the heart of Accra's Central Business District. And in Kumasi, you can find us at Jackson Educational Complex headquarters at Ayeduase near KNUST. JIT provides easy access to student and corporate clients, and our state-of-the-art auditorium is also available for corporate events, seminars, and training sessions. Call or WhatsApp these numbers for more information: 0596 996 037 or 0596 996 038 or 055 271 4635. You can also visit our website at www.jit.edu.gh. JIT, your gateway to a thriving IT career. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more on the AM Show. It's a few days to the 2025 GJA elections. It's happening on the 30th of this month. And we continue our engagement with all those vying for a position in this year's election. Today, we speak to Rebecca Ekpe. She's editor-in-chief at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and she's aspiring for the position of vice president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Rebecca, it's good to see you. Good morning. She joins me via Zoom.
Hey, sweetie, it's good to see you from a hideout.
Yes.
Earlier than agreed on.
I know.
Right?
So tell us, I mean, we have just a few minutes to get your ambitious, what's it called, credentials and everything out there for the people, or journalists, to understand what you bring to the table. So let's start with that comprehensive submission. Why do you want to become the next vice president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Rebecca?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity. I think that first of all, with the passion to lead, it's very paramount.
I believe
the passion to lead is very paramount. Experience, it's in there. And the track record is there. I have performed and I have been in the GJA for quite some time, contributed a great deal. In fact, on the journalism front, media development, freedom of expression, fighting for journalists to ensure that we get what we deserve, contributing to, the public discourse when it comes to media growth in Ghana. I think I've been in there and I deserve the opportunity to step up the plate from the PR position that I have performed creditably well. Visibility in the GJ is obvious, and that is something that we cannot doubt. And so I think that I need to challenge myself and put my step up forward and do more than I'm doing right now. In fact, to tell you what has been happening, I've had a lot of support. I've had a lot of support, lots of calls, people, and that alone tells me that, hey, there are people that are watching you and expect that you do what it deserves to ensure that journalism needs to be where it needs to be here in Ghana.
And Rebecca, what issues have you identified within the current leadership of the GJA that you want to help fix?
Let me say that, sweetie, journalism in Ghana, is evolving globally. Journalism is evolving. Not only is evolving globally, we're moving more from traditional media to what we're calling now new media, obviously. Yeah. Digital space is taking over everything right now. And that comes with a whole lot of other issues, which ties into the issue of welfare of journalists. And I think that welfare of journalists should be paramount. For me, I think that welfare of journalists has to do with safety of journalists. It also has to do with an overall well-being of the journalist. In fact, it has to do with the psychological, emotional well-being of journalists. These are issues that I think that we need to bring to the front burner. Okay. For me, I'm particularly also interested in professional development, training opportunity for our journalists, and all that there is to ensure that journalists stay very current and are able to onboard new things, innovative ways. In fact, journalism now is not just reading the
Rebecca,
news,
unfortunately, we don't have so much time.
So and in fact, trends have even changed to insights, which means that you and I will need to do more.
Right. Rebecca, make an appeal to the journalists watching you with a vote to vote for you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm saying this is the time.
I'm sorry.
This is the time to make an appeal to the journalists listening to you right now.
Wow.
That they should vote for you.
I didn't hear you, but I'm thinking. Okay. So if you can hear me, sweetie, if you can hear me, come on the 30th of June, which is on Monday. The polls will open at 8. The polls will close at 3 p.m. I'd like to appeal to those who are on the voters register to be on time, cast your vote. Remember to vote for number 2 on the ballot, Rebecca.
All right.
Number 2 for confidence, number 2 for media development, competence, and everything that you need within the media space. Thank you for the opportunity.
Rebecca, you're welcome, and I wish you the very best. So that's that. That ends our engagement for today on the GJ elections. Coming up next, we engage MFA Atiamwa Eli on Joy News Impact Makers Awards, which is happening on June the 28th, this Saturday. She joins us to tell you exactly why you should not miss it and be our guest on the Joy News channel after this. it's just 2 days to go for the Joy News Impact Makers Awards, and the project lead for the Joy News Impact Makers Awards, Emefa Tiamoeli, joins me in studio for more. Emefa, thank you for joining us. Are you excited? It's just 2 days to go.
I'm anxious. I'm not too sure, but excited, of course. Each year comes with its own challenges and the demands of the project. So that's it. Yes, I know, like, it's supposed to be a night of celebration, a night of honor and recognition. But being in the thick and thin of everything happening, you get anxious. You're not too sure until all is done. So that's the feeling.
Yeah, so tell me, what's different this time? What's different this year?
Okay, so should I say this? We are expecting very high-profile state officials at this event, and you know how it is when you have to mobilize all of these people to come for a program. So we are praying and trusting that we don't experience any form of disappointment. Of course, they've given their word, and we are very rest assured that they'll be there. But until you see them, and also the early arrival of the various nominees that are supposed to be recognized on the 9th, some are traveling very far, as they'll be doing 10, 11 hours travel. You hope that they'll come a day before. But of course, some of these things, you do not have control over them. So those, yes, we are in touch with them, but as much as possible, we are trusting that they would all arrive in time. So as we plan, everything will go, and then we'll all be happy.
I thought one of the differences is I'm hosting for you this year.
Look at you. Anyways,
but,
that's it.
Yes.
And of course, you are doing that with Nat, so you can imagine the excitement on the day.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So if I make the case to our audience, why they should join us on the 28th of June on the Joy News channel to understand everything that will be happening at the venue, because it's strictly by invitation, I understand.
Yes, it's strictly by invitation, but of course, we'll be live on TV, we'll be live on radio, we'll be live on social media. You need to be part of Follow Joy News Impact Makers, because I think it's high time we celebrate these individuals in the remotest part of the country doing amazing stuff. Because you and I are in the newsroom, we are tended to always report about the big fish. We are always reporting about the government officials, the big people, as if without them, nothing really happens. But the truth of the matter is that there are lots more people out there doing a lot more work, and nobody is recognizing their efforts. It's not just about recognizing, but in a country where you have issues with school infrastructure, you have issues with access to water, you have issues with energy, and you have individuals at the community level taking the bold step to make sure that these things are in place so that their community members do not suffer. I think it is just in order that you bring them to the spotlight. Yes, we are a media house. We might not give them money, we might not give them something so substantial. But the point is, we believe that when we put them in the spotlight, corporate Ghana will get to see them. And of course, there are big multinational organizations that are into similar projects like they do. This is the platform they are able to network with these organizations to enable them expand on what they're doing. What that would mean is that in your community, if you have issues with school infrastructure, things are going to get better for school children.
True.
You wouldn't have cases of school building breaking down on school children. You wouldn't have cases of a bridge or a particular link to a certain community not accessible because there is no simple bridge, you know, to allow the people to
In fact, Emefa, you do have a lot of success stories. I remember Honeyman from last year.
Exactly.
I remember the lady who, because she was awarded and recognized, was able to do more for the students with the sanitary pad
and Eunice, last year the impact maker was Eunice. That's a young lady who had just started her career as a teacher, and you know how it is when you have to be transferred or posted into remote communities to work. All of us would look for the luxury of the city life, but she didn't look at that. And you can imagine the number of children in that community who are having access to education just because of Eunice's presence in that community. There are quite a number of, there are people who are providing water, access to water to some communities outside of Accra. It's a big problem. It's a big problem, but you have individuals, access to quality health care.
And the audience will actually hear all the wonderful things that
These are very interesting and engaging stories. So it's on Saturday.
I know I can't stop you.
It's on Saturday. It's on Saturday. Saturday at 7 p.m. we'll be live on TV, radio. Of course, the main event is strictly by invitation, but we are saying that wherever you are able to follow us. Just get to know these people, know their story, whatever form you are able to support them. Posterity will live to remember you. Amen.
Fatia Mweli there. She's the project lead for the Joy News Impact Makers Awards happening this Saturday, the 28th of June. And it's strictly by invitation, but across all social media platforms and all Joy News channels, DSTV, GoTV, we are live. And so we're asking you to join us. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I did this with Samuel Kojo Brace, and that wraps up the EM show this morning. Coming up next, Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson serves you Joy News Desk. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.